It's time to remember that. With Kyle Sandell.
Presented by Matt Larson, Farm Bureau Agent, located downtown Midland. We got big news in the WNBA yesterday. 5 new teams are going to be added to the W by 2030. And one of them, yes, Detroit is getting a team back in 2029, as well as Philadelphia. Cleveland's getting one in 2028. And then Toronto and Portland are adding teams by 2030. This is super cool because we all remember in the mid-2000s when the Detroit Shock were around, they won a championship. Bill Laimbeer, the coach. Jaden Ivey, who's a current Detroit Piston, his mom played for the Detroit Shock. And this is just a really crucial thing for Tom Gores to get involved in. And we got to give him props once again. In the WNBA that is currently growing faster than any other sport in America and probably in the world, with all of these young players that have come in from women's college basketball and turned up this league, gaining popularity by a crazy amount. And now we're finally going to have a team likely playing in Little Caesars Arena. And who knows, you draft one of these big-time stars out of college. Next thing you know, there's sellout crowds at LCA when you see players like Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers come. Either way, this is a major W for the city of Detroit, for the game of basketball, and all parties involved. A big shout out to Tom Gores for getting out in front of this. And hopefully they go back to the Detroit Shock because that was always a super cool name. WNBA returning to Detroit in 2029. Remember that. Presented by Matt Larson, Farm Bureau Agent, located downtown Midland.
Discover championship golf with amazing views at Apple Mountain in Freeland. Whether you're chasing birdies or just out for a relaxing round, Apple Mountain offers a stunning 18-hole experience for every skill level. Perfect greens, scenic fairways, and a course that plays as beautifully as it looks. Book your tee time now at applemountain.com. Apple Mountain. Golf elevated. Just minutes from Saginaw, but miles from the ordinary.
Transform your outdoor space with Maple Hill Nursery. Whether you're a gardening enthusiast or just looking to relax in style, they have everything you need. From premium polywood furniture that never needs painting to top quality plants and trees, Maple Hill Nursery has it all. Plus, they offer free setup and delivery on in-stock barbecue grills. Visit them today just north of Midland Mall or check out their website for pro tips and expert advice. Maple Hill Nursery, making your yard the place to be.
At Tommy's Express, you can get your car clean, shiny and dry in just minutes. Our state-of-the-art eco-friendly wash delivers a spotless finish every time. With the Tommy Club app, enjoy unlimited washes or paper wash. Skip the line with license plate recognition and manage everything right from your phone. Fast, clean, and simple. Visit Tommy's Express today and see the difference. Text CLEAN CAR to 86697 for a free works wash.
Offer valid for new guests only. By participating, you consent to receive promotional information text from Tommy's Express. Message and data rates may apply. Message frequency varies.
From the Blazy Electric Studios, this is Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt, WLUN, Pinconning Bay City, Saginaw, Midland. Michigan sports aren't just a game, they're a way of life. And now we've got a show dedicated to die-hard sports fans like you. Hosted by a guy who's borderline obsessed with the wins and losses of all your favorite teams.
He's crazy.
Every weekday morning from 9 to noon, Ben Bosscher brings you the talk that matters. The teams, the stories, and the players you care about most. This is the Ben Bosscher Show. Appointment radio across the state.
Remember that. Hello, good morning, and welcome into the Ben Bosscher Show, live on 100.9 The Mitt, live on YouTube as well, live on Facebook, can't forget about that. It is a jam-packed show. They say July is the most dead month of the year for sports. I say to hell with that. We've got NBA free agency, we've got NHL free agency, back against the wall for Steve Yzerman, Trajan Langton. It couldn't be the opposite for those Detroit Pistons. They're taking this thing one step at a time. Fun show planned out for everyone today. Again, this is Ben Bosscher right here on 100.9 The Mitt. Kyle Sandell behind the glass producing for us as always. We're going to work some Lions in a little bit later. We're going to have Chris Castellani on a little bit later to talk about the Tigers who start their series today against Washington. And I just simply don't think... Usually in radio, there's a 24-hour a cycle in terms of what you can talk about. You shouldn't be talking about something from over the weekend on Wednesday or Tuesday. That's for Monday, obviously. But Skubal was so freaking good on Sunday night that I still want to kind of circle back to that. And we'll do that once Chris is on in the 10 o'clock hour. We've got a lot to talk about. And I think we're going to start out by going over this NBA free agency thing because hashtag we're making NBA cool again. It does feel like Trajan Langdon is no longer batting 1,000. I'm just going to put it that way. And that's more of a praise for him than anything. Yesterday, the Pistons end up signing Caris LeVert. I said yesterday on the show, if they end up signing Caris LeVert and that's their big move, I'm going to freak out. I'm going to try not to freak out too much today, but I wish you guys could have had a camera on me. My live reaction of the Twitter notification of, hey, Caris LeVert's going to be a Piston. Started angrily, aggressively, walking around my house because this is just not the guy I wanted to add to this Detroit Pistons room. I'll explain why in just a second, but just to backtrack to what I originally was saying, I don't think Langdon's batting 1,000 anymore, and that's not necessarily a diss on Langdon for the move. I mean, it is a little bit. It's more of, hey, look how successful his first season was. It's like, you remember that year, Kyle, where D. Gordon, former Loon, batted like 400, 450 like for 2 months into the season? You know, obviously, it's not quite 1,000, but the fact that Trajan Langdon did bat 1,000 for so long, I think this is more of a praise towards him than anything, even though I don't like this Caris LeVert signing, because he went a full calendar year as the president of basketball operations without making really any mistakes. There's not really a move you can point to and say, I wish the Pistons wouldn't have done that. Even free agency, the trade deadline, every little thing worked out in favor for the Pistons last season. Obviously, that wasn't going to last. No GM bats 1,000 forever. But the fact that he was able to do it for basically a full calendar year, even down to the trade deadline of getting Dennis Schroeder in the building for nothing, who is a humongous part of the reason that the Pistons were able to win a playoff game, multiple playoff games. The Beasley signing, like being able to finally surround Cade Cunningham with great role players. All credit goes to Trajan Langdon for that. Obviously, the development of the key guys is in play here too. But the roster building from what it was with Troy Weaver to what it became with Trajan Langdon was a complete 180. You started using logic, and it felt like this guy was a super genius. And, again, batted 1,000 for a year. So for a year, he was. I don't love this Caris LeVert move. He's still batting upwards of like 666. But with that being said, I just simply do not like this Caris LeVert fit. I get it. He's a Michigan guy. It's a name that a lot of NBA casual fans from around here are probably a little bit more familiar with just because he did spend some time at U of M. But I'm now looking at this. You lost out on, potentially Malik Beasley. We'll see what happens. Again, being investigated by the feds for a gambling issue dating back 2 seasons. Not good. You're all but definitely not getting Dennis Schroeder back. Like, lock that up. Tim Hardaway Jr. hasn't been re-signed. That's 3 of your most important role players from last season. Hardaway and Beasley combined scored 2,180 points. Caris LeVert's not doing that by himself, and at some point the math just kind of maths its way through. Yeah, Cade can keep developing. Yeah, Ivey's going to take on a huge boatload of those points theoretically, but at the end of the day, you lost out on 2 to 3, depending on what happens with Tim Hardaway Jr., awesome role players, and all you've done so far is replace them with a significantly worse role player in Caris LeVert. So far, there's still time. I think this offseason, and again, it's only been 24 hours, this free agency period for the Pistons has been somewhat of an L for Trajan Langdon. With that being said, right now there's a lot of rumors on the NBA rumor mill that Malik Monk, former 6th man of the year, awesome player from that I think the Pistons fans are really going to fall in love with. Kind of similar body type to Malik Beasley, but just way more athletic, way more springy. Going to catch some guys on a poster, let it rip from 3 too. Right now it feels like there are some rumors that Dennis Schroeder is going to end up being on the Kings, and the Kings in return, it's going to be a signing trade, are going to send they're going to send Malik Monk over to Detroit. If they're able to land someone like Malik Monk and have that guy come off the bench, then we can re-examine the free agency period. And then all of a sudden, I think we're talking about, okay, maybe the Pistons just got even better. But for now, you lost out on 2 to 3 of your role players, of your veterans, and you replace them with a much worse player in Caris LeVert. He brings a lot to the table, but all those things, he doesn't have he's not very good at one thing. He's somewhat good at a lot of things, but he's not very good at one thing. And I think a lot of times it leads to ball stoppy stuff. Like, hey, he gets the ball and nobody else is getting it. The best thing I can tell you, well, it's really the worst thing I can tell you, but in terms of making my case as to why I don't like Caris LeVert on this team, the best thing I can tell you is he's been traded 4 times in his career already. 3 times after, so one of those times was he got drafted, a month later they traded him, which you can think of that as, hey, the deal just came across, or you can think of that as, well, the team that drafted him traded him before the season even started, got him in the building, we're like, nah, we're good. You don't really see teams do that very often. And then after he played his first game, he's already been traded 3 times. Every team that's had him has decided we're all set at some point. And even the team he most recently played for, Atlanta, he got traded there last season, was just kind of like, nah, we're good. We're going to let him walk. No one that ends up with Caris LeVert wants him in the building long term. I don't dislike the value. I don't dislike what the Pistons got him for. 2 for $29. It's a tradable contract. But at the end of the day, I do not like the player. I do not like the fit. I think it's a downgrade in terms of the role players that Cade surrounded himself with, or that Trajan Langdon surrounded Cade with is more so the way I should say it. And that is why the Pistons struggled for so long. And there was people saying trade Cade Cunningham when the Pistons were the worst team in the league. It's because the role players around him sucked. Troy Weaver couldn't put competent veteran players around him. Trajan Langdon comes in and after one season puts Beasley around him, Tim Hardaway Jr. around him. Later in the season, puts Schroeder around him. Now we're reverting back to worse role players surrounding Cade Cunningham. Is this a total disaster of a move? No. Caris LeVert hit 36% of his threes last year. 37% of his threes last year. That's pretty good. His career three-point percentage is also 34. So there's 2 ways to look at that. He figured something out in year 9, and that's sustainable, or he's going to regress back to the means. I'm probably betting on the latter there. I don't love this move, Kyle. I don't love it. And, are there a lot of people out there that are as passionate about, the Pistons got Caris LeVert? Like, that's the open for the show today? I don't know, but I'm fired up about it. I really am.
Well, Michigan fans are probably excited about this one, right? Obviously, a former Wolverine. As far as the pros and cons of bringing Caris LeVert in, he does supply that scoring punch off the bench that this team is going to need, losing Dennis Schroeder and Malik Beasley, right? He does offer that. He's a much more all-around scorer than Malik Beasley is. Pretty good off the dribble, pretty good in the paint. But you talked about the three-point percentage at 37%. He was 35% on catch and shoot last year. He was a better three-point shooter off the dribble. It's
not a good
necessarily
sign.
Right. I mean, it's not what you want when Cade Cunningham has the ball, 90% of the time.
Right.
And Malik Beasley obviously was an elite catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. So it's not a bad move, right? 2 years, $29 million. It sounds expensive. But as far as the...
Tradable.
Yeah, tradable.
And his track
no options either.
Track record said it's probably going to be traded at some point.
Right. But as far as you talking like this might be the first L for Trajan Langdon, I can't go there because they weren't going to sign Caris LeVert 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is not really his fault. They had to pivot and do something.
Yeah.
Because it would have been worse if they did nothing. Right?
Yep. Thanks a lot, Malik Beasley.
It really comes down to Malik Beasley, this investigation happening a day before free agency starts. And then the Pistons caught completely off guard by it and having to pivot to Caris LeVert.
All of a sudden, I'm sitting here thinking the timing of the Malik Beasley news just feels intentional.
Right?
It feels intentional. It's like, hey, free agency opens in less than 24 hours. Because this happened Sunday during the day, so a little over 24 hours. It's like, we're going to drop this bomb that one of the top players in free agency, maybe not one of the top players in free agency,
he was one of the top players in free agency.
Yeah, top role guys.
So.
no longer really available. That threw a complete wrench into the Pistons' plans, of course. What you said the number was yesterday, 3 for 42 they were planning on signing him?
That's the same deal LeVert got with an extra year. You know, like they literally just transferred that money to Caris LeVert.
Yeah, and then we can start comparing the deals like just in a vacuum because Nickeil Alexander-Walker, the guy that we brought up yesterday, in terms of that would be a much better fit.
LeVert's old team.
Signs with LeVert's old team for 4 years, 46. So basically the exact same amount of guaranteed money or the exact same amount of AAV. So like per year basis. Obviously a little bit more of a long-term commitment for him. So that's the reason he would want to go to Atlanta. But you know what other thought crossed my mind? Because Kennard also goes to Atlanta for 1 year, $11 million. Yeah. Would have gladly signed up for that. That sounds a lot better than Duncan Robinson. You know what crossed my mind yesterday, though, about the Pistons free agency? Because all the stuff started coming out about the Hawks, how Trae Young was recruiting Nickeil Alexander-Walker, which I still don't necessarily understand what's allowed and what's not allowed in terms of like players recruiting other players. You know?
Yeah, I mean, he's a free agent. You know, I think that's allowed. It'd be different if he was on another team.
You know what crossed my mind, though? The Pistons were so adamant about not having any friends across the league last year that I started to wonder if that is hurting them right now in free agency to the point where, like, they beefed with everybody last year. They kind of embraced it. They loved it. They liked that they were everyone's enemy. It felt like they were doing the Michael Jordan thing where it's like, we're just coming up with reasons to despise everyone we play on a nightly basis. And I wonder if that's coming back to bite them now because it's like, no, I'm not going to play with those guys. I'm not friends with those guys. I don't like those guys. Maybe that's completely blown out of proportion, but I don't know. After I saw the report that Trae Young's been recruiting all these guys and wants to get something going and they have a good built-in relationship, I was like, I don't know if we're getting any of those stories out of Detroit. That might be an overreaction, but
I think
it's definitely a thought that crossed my mind.
It could honestly give people a reason to come to Detroit, right? I mean, Schroeder totally fit that mentality.
Yeah, but not everyone's wired that way. You know what I mean?
I feel like a lot of guys are.
Schroeder's one of the bigger jerks in the league. Schroeder's one of the biggest jerks.
Of course. And it sucks that the Pistons are probably losing him.
Yeah, he seems destined to go to Sacramento. And
yeah, it's already been reported that he's agreed with the Kings. It's just the details are all over the place.
And who he's actually going to sign the contract with is still up in the air. Because the idea is Pistons sign him, trade him immediately to Sacramento, get Malik Monk. That, to me, would give this Pistons the stamp of approval in free agency. Like, you bring in a former sixth man of the year, you lose out on Beasley, very, back against the wall circumstances in terms of the Beasley, he's not suspended yet, but the fact that the feds are involved in this is the weirdest part about the Beasley investigation, so we'll see what happens there. There's another team that's hitting free agency today, though, and that would be the Detroit Red Wings. I think the total opposite approach comparing Trajan Langdon and Steve Yzerman right now is fascinating because they find themselves in polar opposite situations. Why? Well, I'll tell you next year on the Ben Bosscher Show. First Class Epoxy now in Midland turns boring concrete into smooth, shiny, durable floors. Perfect for garages, workshops, basements, anywhere you want your floor to look great and last. You got to visit First Class Epoxy. Their epoxy's tough enough for heavy traffic and wild dance moves. Kyle's got some great dance moves. I've never seen them, but I've heard legends about them. Professional prep, flawless finish, done on time, and built to last. Say goodbye to stains, cracks, and dull gray floors, and say hello to slick showroom shine. Call First Class Epoxy now or visit firstclassepoxynow.com. It's First Class Epoxy Now, where your floors get the VIP treatment they didn't even know they needed. Like I said, the Red Wings also dealing with free agency starting today at noon. The Steve Yzerman approach and the pressure is building for that man. Completely different than the situation in Trajan Langdon finds himself in as the president of basketball operations for the Pistons. Let's compare the two next here on the Ben Bosscher Show, 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
Parents, summer is almost here. Do you have a plan? Keep your kids active, engaged, and having a blast at Greater Midland Summer Camps. Every day is a new adventure filled with games, sports, creative activities, and new friendships. Plus, new this year, our full-day camps are now at the Greater Midland Tennis Center. More space, more fun, and more memories to be made. Spots are filling fast, so don't wait. Secure your child's best summer ever today at greatermidland.org/camps.
Do you see yourself traveling, working part-time, or moving somewhere warmer when you retire? I'm Kevin Spencer, your Midland Edward Jones financial advisor, and I wanted to help make your retirement goals a reality. Let's talk about where you are, where you want to be, and how you'll get there. Together, we can plan for the expected and make sure you're ready for the unexpected.
Search Edward Jones Financial Advisor Kevin Spencer on Facebook. 416 West Wackerly in Midland, under the green awning. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hi, this is Jim Mahoney with Link Technologies. As a business owner, you might be struggling with today's technological advancements in the IT arena and how they could benefit your growing business. Let Link Technologies' talented staff work with you to develop a technology plan custom to your specific needs. We bring 27 years of experience helping businesses and nonprofit organizations just like yours achieve their technology goals. Contact us today and see how the right balance between cloud and on-premise resources can best work for you.
At the Great Lakes Loons, our commitment to community goes beyond the ballpark. Through the Vol Loon Tier program, Loon staff and even players roll up their sleeves to serve the Great Lakes Bay region. From packing food boxes to reading in classrooms and even cleaning up local camps and parks, it's hands-on work that helps build a stronger, more connected community. Vol Loon Tier isn't just what we do, it's who we are. Because being part of this region means showing up when it counts. The Great Lakes Loons, serving the Great Lakes Bay region since 2007.
Local sports don't stop when the game ends, and neither do we. 100.9 The Mitt is your digital home for the latest news across the state of Michigan. From high school to college and the pros, it's all on our socials. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search 100.9 The Mitt and join the squad. Stay locked in on the latest stats and stories with exclusive video takes from local talent. Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt.
The love of the game draws us to sports, as players, coaches, spectators, and officials. For officials, it's a way to stay in the game they once played, to feel the thrill of putting on the uniform, stepping out of the playing surface, hustling to make the call, and building the relationships which can only be built in sports. If you still have that love for the game, we always need new officials. Register now at MHSAA.com. A message from the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
Welcome back in, Ben Bosscher Show live, 100.9 The Mitt. It's a Tuesday, and free agency opens up for the Detroit Red Wings here in 2.5 hours. Noon is when that opens up. So Yzerman actually, it's funny. He's going into year 7. I've been doing radio here for about 2.5 years, and I haven't had too many nice things to say about Steve Yzerman, and I think that's mostly justified. But I will say the past week has been promising. Now, it's July, so you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt, but they end up getting a little bit aggressive, trading 2 future picks for a goalie. That, to me, is a good move. John Gibson now in the net for the Red Wings. Was he a number 2 goalie last year? Only played 29 games? Maybe, but he's a former 3-time All-Star, and the Red Wings have just been in such a carousel of goalies over the past 5, 6 years, 7 years, really since Mrazek and Howard kind of hung it up or got moved away. It's just been a constant moving cycle of who's in the net. So I like the fact that they're willing to take risks, move some future picks, and bring in a goalie guy to put in net. The other move that Yzerman made here is trading away Tarasenko, the guy they landed last free agency, for literally nothing. It's back-to-back off seasons that they're just shedding cap. Last year, it was with Jake Wallman. Guess what? Jake Wallman ends up getting traded for a first-round pick later on that season and ends up playing in the Stanley Cup. Horrendous player evaluation, and reading the market from Steve Yzerman. Horrible. This time seems a little bit different because Tarasenko felt washed up last year, wasn't really helping the Red Wings out a whole lot. And they're like, whatever, let's just get rid of his cap. We don't care if it's for nothing. That guy ends up playing on another Stanley Cup team. Steve Yzerman definitely should be fired, though. But they're shedding cap, and it feels like it's to set up for a move today, or whenever free agency actually opens. Sometimes things last a little bit, longer in free agency, whereas in the NBA, it feels like everything kind of just happens in the first 48 hours. Because remember, they didn't get DeBrincat 2 years ago until halfway through July, so sometimes you got to be a little bit more patient. But it does feel like the Red Wings are gearing up for something, a big move, and they kind of have to, right? They don't really have another choice but to push their chips to the middle of the table and go all in terms of making the playoffs this year. I'm not saying all in to make yourself a contender, but at this point, even the biggest Steve Yzerman fans and the guys that have defended him have to admit here in year 7 that this is it, right? This is your last chance. It's already been I don't want to say an overstayed welcome, but again, if your name was Joe Schmo or Ben Bosscher or Kyle Sandel or Sarah Stockford, you'd be fired. If your name wasn't Steve Yzerman, you'd be gone. It's been 6 full seasons of him as GM, and they haven't made the playoffs. Here's a fun fact. Do you know the Red Wings have the 4th longest playoff drought in all of pro sports?
Wow.
That makes me sick to my stomach. And if they miss the playoffs again this season, I don't think there's any logical reasoning for why Steve Yzerman should still be employed by this team. So I think he is in a position where back against the wall a little bit, pressure mounting up here in year 7, do or die season for the guy, in a place he clearly wants to be, and I think everyone wants to see him succeed. It's not like I'm sitting here saying, I hate Steve Yzerman, get out of my building.
I mean, it kind of is what it sounds like.
To some extent, but we all want this to work out, right? Like, this is like the dream situation. Your ex-former captain comes back. He's won you Stanley Cups. He's built dynasties elsewhere in Tampa, and now he's here to do it again. Everyone wants this to work out. It's a romantic story. But if it doesn't work out, we can't tie ourselves to Steve Yzerman. You know what I mean? Like, the Red Wings have to operate separately than Steve Yzerman. They have to treat him like Steve Yzerman, GM, not the player. So I guess here's my point. Steve Yzerman's in a position to where he's going to be more aggressive because he has no other choice. Trajan Langdon is almost in the complete opposite predicament because his first season went so well. And he has enough time on his hands to where like he's not on a hot seat or anything like that, where he's going to purposely do this thing at a slower pace, even though honestly, as much as I love the slower pace aspect of this in today's NBA where you got to be a little bit more surgical, and it's not really a superstar league anymore, that kind of feels like the direction it's trending. Whereas my whole life, it's been who has the best superstars, that's going to be who wins chips. Now it feels like we're more towards trending who can build the best roster, so your GM matters more than it ever has before. I think Trajan Langdon's going to be a little bit more patient. I think Steve Yzerman has so much pressure on him right now that there's a lot of urgency on that side of the building in LCA. I'm excited to see what they do today.
Me too, and it seems like something's brewing, right? We talked about this a little bit pre-show. It seems like a big Red Wings move potentially is coming when we've been talking about maybe a big Pistons move is coming. And the big Pistons move doesn't have to come. I think we just want it as fans of the team because you see...
Sorry, I don't mean to... Like, the big move for the Pistons is just an awesome role player. You know what I mean? Like, it's not some awesome, like, all-stars coming to the team. Whereas the Red Wings, I feel like, do need to make somewhat of a move like that, you know? Sorry, I cut you off.
No, but that's what I'm saying. As fans of the Pistons team, you see kind of what is available in the Eastern Conference. You see teams like the Atlanta Hawks who seem to be almost going for it. The Magic have kind of gone for it. You don't want to, go all out like those teams necessarily are. But you want to throw your hat in the race for next year in the Eastern Conference. That's going to be pretty wide open. And for the Red Wings, like you said, way different scenario. It's going to be very interesting to see how they operate over the next couple of days because you would think that the pressure is on, but the pressure should have been on. It's been to this boiling point for a couple of years now.
It feels overdue, right? Everything in the Wings side of things in LCA is on a, like... You know how you can speed up podcasts when you listen to them? Like whenever I listen to the show back, I always put it in 1.3 times speed. They're doing it like opposite. They're doing it in 0.7 speed. They're like, we're taking our time. We're in no rush, right? Steve Yzerman's our GM.
0.7 speed podcast sounds
horrible.
Terrible.
Horrible. 989-837-6125. When we come back, we'll hit the news. We've still got a constant eye on both NHL and NBA free agency. I have a feeling that something's going to break here by the time the show's done, and hopefully we can react to it. We're going to work in some Tigers. We're going to work in some Lions at the end of the 9 o'clock hour, so stay tuned. It is the Ben Bosscher Show right here on 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
Last week, the Loons were in Fort Wayne, Indiana, taking on the Tin Caps. And the long ball was flying out of Parkview Field. The Loons hit 6 home runs in 6 games, including a spectacular Sunday performance from Frank Rodriguez. Had a 5-ribby 3-hit game, including a grand slam in the 8th. 2-1. Rodriguez swings. Hard hit to deep left. Campbell gives it a look, but that is out of here. Grand slam for Efrod. Man, oh man, demolished 406, 105 off the bat, and he has made the most of his opportunities here this year in the Midwest League. That cushion completely deflated. Tuesday night, it's Loons and Whitecaps in Comstock Park, Michigan. Join us at 6:20 p.m.
I'm Sarah Stockford, host of 100.9 The Mitt Success Suite, a podcast highlighting the most inspiring female leaders across the Great Lakes Bay region. This month, we spoke with Mary Draves, former Dow executive and leader in the Midland community.
I think as we get a little bit older, we start to care less about what other people think.
That's really a great point, yeah.
And so as I've gotten older, I think I've become way more comfortable in who I am and what I stand for. And, when you get to that point, all of a sudden, you become less apologetic about who you are. You also, you're like, hey, this is me, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
And I think in my 20s versus maybe I'm in my 50s now, it's a very different person. And that's just really part of the continuum of growth.
Listen to the full interview with Mary on 100.9 The Mitt's YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification button to be alerted when new episodes drop. That's Success Suite with Sarah Stockford.
Hey parents, got a young athlete at home? Sign them up for the Midland Community Foundation's Try Kids Try Youth Triathlon. Saturday, July 19th at Plymouth Park in Midland. Kids ages 6 to 15 will swim, bike, and run their way through the finish line in a fun, supportive environment. And don't miss the mini TKT for ages 3 to 5 happening Friday, July 18th. Register now at greatermidland.org/races. That's greatermidland.org/races.
A beautiful yard increases both the value of your home and the quality of your life. Commercially, landscaping creates a positive impression of your professionalism and commitment to community, customers, and employees. Cervinsky Sod has been creating and maintaining outdoor spaces for 56 years. Whether your project is residential or commercial, the team at Cervinsky Sod Services will work with you to build and meet budgets and finish the job with top quality and in a timely manner. To get a quote, call 989-835-4810 or visit CervinskySodService.com.
At Aird Insurance Group, they're more than just policies. They're your trusted partners in protecting what matters most.
Whether it's auto, home, life, or business insurance, their team takes the time to understand your needs and find the best coverage for your unique situation.
With personalized service and unbeatable rates, Aird Insurance Group makes protecting your future easy.
Call Aird Insurance Group today and see why their clients trust them to keep them covered.
Aird Insurance Group.
The experience matters.
Wackadoo! Bluey and her little sister Bingo are joining the Great Lakes Loons again this summer for Red, White, and Bluey Weekend presented by My Michigan How. It's 2 games of fun, laughter, and memories with our favorite Blue healer. Whether it's Saturday night or Sunday afternoon, don't miss out. For tickets, visit loons.com. This is the Great Lakes Loons, everyone's hometown team.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
989-837-6. I'm sorry, Kyle. I keep doing that to you. I forget that we have the rejoiners now. So
someday, man.
Someday we'll figure this thing out. 989-837-6125. A couple Mitt messages. Jared saying Steve is only acting so aggressively because it's the Red Wings centennial, and he knows he needs to make the playoffs or he's out. I mean, it's year 7. Yeah, like 100% aligned with you there. It's
100-year anniversary of the Wings, man. That's cool.
Very cool. Couple texts here on the Mitt messages. Not reading that one. Just calling my voice squeaky. Thanks. The Paul Reed signing is garbage. Andre Drummond has more size at 7 foot yet. Okay. What? Andre Drummond has more size at 7 foot, 280 pounds. Reed is 6'9", 210 pounds of weakness. Dre wants to be back in Detroit. Langdon failed on this one. I don't like the Paul Reed signing. I think to pay a backup center $11 million 2 years, it's not that much money, but the fact that they were like, no, we need to bring Paul Reed back. When in an ideal world, Paul Reed is not playing minutes. Like when everyone's healthy, Paul Reed should not be playing minutes, and they were like, that's actually our priority to bring back. I didn't love that deal. Like, it's fine. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it.
It's not that I didn't love it, but it's just the fact that was the first thing they did.
It was like, yes, we got back Paul Reed.
Second year team
option. I would rather have Paul Reed than Drummond at this point. Drummond,
no.
What do you mean? Drummond just gets rebounds.
Drummond's solid, dude.
He's not the playmaker Paul Reed is. I'll tell you that. All right. Let's hit the news here. And again, 989-837-6125. Mitt messages are open all day. Let's do it. Let's do the news.
The Mitt's Morning Catch.
All right, we've been talking NBA, NHL all day. Let's get some quick MLB stuff in. Tigers back tonight in D.C. against the Nationals. 6:45 first pitch. Jack Flaherty versus Trevor Williams.
First of all, the difference between a 7:10 first pitch and a 6:45 first pitch, blessing.
Immense,
blessing.
yes.
Second of all, every time Jack Flaherty's now on the mound, it's like, it's not nervousness, but it's not excitement. I don't know how to describe my feeling going into these Jack Flaherty starts. It's like...
It's nervousness.
It is. Maybe that's just what it is. It's nervous energy because you don't know which version of Flaherty you're getting right now. And that's... It's like I'm excited to watch it, but not in a good way. It's like, you know what I mean? I don't know if I did a good job explaining that.
No, I think you did actually a bad job explaining that because I didn't really understand what you meant. But I get nervous when he is on the mound. And I'm going to be nervous tonight, right? I mean, it's a worse starter going against him in Trevor Williams. So these are important starts for Flaherty, man.
Just stop giving up home runs. Please, for the love of God, stop giving up home runs.
To me, it's the getting down and counts and the walks.
Yes.
Flaherty's always giving up bombs. It's just when you have 2 or 3 guys on, then you give up the bombs. Yeah, that's the issue.
And usually when he walks a couple guys in an inning, that's when he starts throwing fastballs right down the middle. And those are usually the ones that get bombed.
All right, let's talk some NFL. TJ Watt trade, question mark. After the big time trade that happened yesterday, probably the weirdest trade we've seen in some years in the NFL. With Minkah Fitzpatrick headed to Miami, Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith headed to Pittsburgh. The Steelers haven't shown any willingness to deal Watt so far, reports say, but he's unhappy with his contract situation, and sources outside the team believe it is likely that TJ Watt is available to be traded for. And teams have been reaching out.
If the Steelers all in one offseason trade away TJ Watt, sign Aaron Rodgers, and then trade away Minkah Fitzpatrick for 2 players not as good as Minkah Fitzpatrick and Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, I think I might call for everyone in that building to be fired.
And you're just forgetting trading for DK Metcalf and making him the highest paid wide receiver prior to Jamar Chase's deal?
Yeah. DK Metcalf making more than Amon-Ra St. Brown just doesn't make any sense to me.
DK Metcalf making anything more than top 5 pay is crazy.
I don't Pittsburgh gets all the credit in the world for just sustained success over the years.
Until
under
this
Tomlin.
offseason, man.
Yeah,
what is going on with
this
them?
is ridiculous.
Is Aaron Rodgers really, is the effect of Aaron Rodgers that heavy?
I've been saying this for years, man. Are you asking? You know the answer to that question.
Why are they going all in? Like this is their only chance they have. As if Rodgers is a much better quarterback option than they've had post Big Ben. It's weird.
Rodgers is a bottom 5 quarterback in the league, without a doubt in my mind. He doesn't want to be hit. He's afraid of being hit. And once you reach that point in your career, hang it up. Yeah. We saw that in the last year of Brady, and it was sad to watch because what Brady used to be so good at was you just hang in the pocket, perfect pass, deliver the hit, stand right up, and MF someone on the way to the line of scrimmage. In the last season of him, he didn't want to get hit. He was getting rid of the ball early. Remember that whole thing his last season where he was getting rid of the ball in the shortest amount of time in his career? It was 2 seconds after a snap was the average time to throw. And it was he doesn't want to get hit. He can't move anymore. That's where Rodgers is at.
Well, we'll see if the Steelers end up dealing TJ Watt. I'd be shocked if it happened, but this trade yesterday also was pretty shocking, so who really knows?
Yep.
Let's do some more NBA free agency news because more stuff outside of just the Pistons happened yesterday. We talked about a former Wolverine. Let's talk about a former Spartan. Jaren Jackson Jr. got the absolute supermax from the Grizzlies, 5 years, $240 million.
$240 million for someone who is
former Defensive Player of the Year.
At best, like the 15th best player in the NBA. This is now the NBA that we live in. You're going to have rosters where guys are making like quarterback money, and then you're going to have guys that and then the team's basically just out. Like I said when we were talking Pistons earlier.
I mean, they had to trade Bane to make this extension.
This is now a roster building league. This is who can maintain their salary and manage the cap as efficiently as possible while building a team and an identity all on a short timeline. It's no longer a superstar league. Superstars don't fix your problems anymore. Look at Denver. I mean, they do to some extent, but look at Denver. It's the perfect example. You have the best player in the world in Jokic, and the rest of your team last season wasn't good enough. So what are they doing? They're trading away players, shedding cap, and trying to get more sustainable guys in the building. This is a completely different era in the NBA under this new collective bargaining agreement. I'm curious I don't dislike it. It's confusing. And I think everyone's still kind of learning on the fly how to do it.
Right.
But it's definitely fascinating in terms of it feels like someone managing a football cap in a roster.
Does. And it also feels like some teams have a much better knowledge of it than others.
Yes.
Which is kind of fun to watch unfold.
And where the Pistons are, I think, remains to be seen.
Yeah, I would agree. You talked about the trade there. There was a couple other minor signings, but the big trade that happened yesterday in the NBA, Michael Porter Jr. plus a 2032 unprotected first-round pick. Crazy, 7 years out. Gets traded to Brooklyn in exchange for Cam Johnson. Like you said, shedding a ton of money for the Nuggets who won a championship now 3 seasons ago. Looking to get back.
Tell us how you really feel about Michael Porter Jr. Denver. My God. I like Cam Johnson. But the fact that they were just like, we're doing anything we can to get rid of Michael Porter Jr., that's more so what that screams to me. I don't think they love the idea of Cam Johnson. I think they just wanted Michael Porter Jr. out of the building. Always dealing with injuries, somewhat of an inconsistent player, not a good defender most of the time.
Is a really good catch-and-shoot shooter. Like, one of the best in the league.
But being paid like someone who's much more than that.
Right, over 30 M's, yes. Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Thomas on the same NBA team.
Oh, God.
No, thank you. We talked about some NBA news. How about some NHL news? The Wings, as we discussed. Vladimir Tarasenko traded to the Minnesota Wild for future considerations. And the Red Wings also bring back Patrick Kane. 1 year, $3 million deal.
Yeah. Glad to have Showtime back. This is the second offseason in a row that they've been able to land that. If they would have lost him, we would have been having real problems. But here's one thing I'll say about Yzerman over the past couple of years. He's found a way to keep Kane in the building, which I don't know if Kane's much of like a difference maker in terms of like, oh, he puts your team over the edge anymore. But it is nice that he wants to be here, you know?
Yeah, totally.
He's chosen.
With the legend that he is, too.
And there wasn't much of a drama storyline of whether or not he was going to stay this offseason compared to last. So it kind of feels like they just... He's content here, and that's kind of how he's going to let his career play out.
Last news, NHL free agency obviously also going on. Big time move, Mitch Marner traded from the Maple Leafs to the Golden Knights and then immediately signing an 8-year extension with Vegas.
I don't know why. I just find myself rooting for Vegas.
Really?
I don't know why. One of these new teams, I feel like they do things in a very bold way. You remember I know you don't remember, but I know you're a historian like I am. Like the NBA's version of the Lakers under Buss in the 80s, of how they're kind of like, they took basketball and made it an entertainment aspect of it.
Right.
That kind of feels what Vegas is to me in the NHL. They're just doing hockey a little bit differently. They're like, oh, this guy's available? Sure. Here you go. Here's 8 years.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I respect the move. Obviously, they've been a pretty successful franchise since coming into the NHL, so big loss for the Leafs, obviously.
All right, we'll hit the rest of the news in the 11 o'clock hour. 989-837-6125. Hey, we've talked Pistons GM, president of basketball operations. We've talked Red Wings GM Steve Yzerman. Well, feels like a good time to work in a Brad Holmes conversation. That's next here on the Ben Bosscher Show, 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
It is the Scholar Athlete of the Month, proudly presented by Fisher Companies here on Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt. This month's recipient is Logan Snyder from Bullet Creek High School. With a 3.94 GPA, Logan's a member of the varsity golf team, revitalizing a program that was dormant when he was a freshman 4 years ago. Logan great at golf and in the classroom, and also volunteers, including at the Midland Miracle Fields.
I love working with those kids, and it's always so much fun to see them getting to play the game we all get to love to play. Just getting to see them going up to bat, hitting the ball, no matter how far it goes, and they're just super excited. It just warms my heart every time.
Logan will be attending Ferris State in the fall and plans to study in their PGA Golf Management program. To hear the full interview and nominate a local athlete for our scholarship program, visit 1009themid.com.
Suit up, Sea Captain. At Dive and Glide in Midland, we've got all the gear you need to make a splash. Flippers that fit like a glove, masks that show you the underwater magic, and tanks ready to fuel your next adventure. Whether you're snorkeling the local lakes or dreaming of ocean depths, Dive and Glide has your back and your fins. Find us on Cambridge Street or swim over to diveandglideinc.com. Dive and Glide, making waves one splash at a time so you can dive deeper than ever before.
The Michigan Baseball Foundation is more than just baseball. It's a driver of economic growth and community. Operating one of the nation's top minor league stadiums, MBF supports job creation and regional development. Through creative partnerships and charitable giving, MBF has helped bring projects like Dow Diamond, the East End Development, Fairfield Inn and Suites, the Plaza, and the Dow Bay Area Family YMCA to life, generating over $23 million annually in economic impact. Every Great Lakes Loons ticket supports these efforts. Learn more at MichiganBaseballFoundation.org.
Celebrate 4th of July with the Great Lakes Loons. Join us for our block party on Main, presented by the Michigan Army National Guard. Celebrate America's independence with face painting, balloon animals, the inflatable zone on the front lawn, and of course, America's pastime. The evening wraps up with a spectacular fireworks Loontacular, presented by Farm Bureau Insurance. For tickets, visit loons.com. This isn't just baseball, it's the Great Lakes Loons, everyone's hometown team. From Midland to Bay City, Saginaw to Sanford, from Frankenmuth, Freeland, and Hemlock to Auburn, Essexville, and Pinconning, 100.9 The Mitt is the heartbeat of the Great Lakes Bay region, and proud of it. We're your home for local sports, local stories, and local pride. Whether you're in Birch Run, Beaverton, Gladwin, Chesaning, or Coleman, football, basketball, hockey, Spartans, NFL, Loons, all right here. 100.9 The Mitt, Mid-Michigan's sports leader.
Hey, I'm Ben Bosscher.
And I'm Kyle Sandel.
And the two of us are live every weekday on 100.9 The Mitt at 9 a.m. until noon, giving you opinions on the teams that you care about the most.
The Lions, Tigers, Red Wings, Pistons, those teams.
And a whole lot more. Whether we're breaking down a game from the night before, debating the biggest news from the day, or doing a draft or spread picks, we're always having fun. I mean, come on, it's our job to talk about sports. How could we not be having fun?
So if the big games aren't enough for you, if you're a real diehard fan, this show is going to be perfect for you. You can count on us to be your morning sports outlet every day.
The Ben Bosscher Show with Ben Bosscher and Kyle Sandel on 100.9 The Mitt.
From the hometown heroes to the college legends to the pros on Sunday, 100.9 The Mitt is your home for wall-to-wall play-by-play coverage. High school football, basketball, and hockey.
Region champions for the first time in school history.
Michigan State football and basketball.
Touchdown, MSU!
The NFL, Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night primetime games. And don't think we forgot about your hometown team. The Great Lakes Loons.
That ball's over and out of here.
100.9 The Mitt. This is more than just a lineup. It's a daily ritual for the die-hard Michigan sports fans. At 6 a.m., Anthony Bellino wakes up the state with Spin on Sports.
I do not believe it.
At 9, the Ben Bosscher Show is appointment listening hosted here in the Great Lakes Bay region.
I would like to buy some Casey Mine stock.
America's Best takes over at noon. The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Well, what about Patrick Mahomes?
And at 3, Bill Simonson brings it home on The Huge Show. Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt for the most passionate fans in Michigan.
Here are 5 good reasons for high school multi-sport participation. Fewer overuse injuries, less opportunity for emotional burnout, exposure to different kids and coaches, exposure to different roles, and learning to compete better. Being a multi-sport participant can help a kid become a more well-rounded person. Multi-sport participation is cross-training for life. Learn more at the MHSAA website. A message from the Michigan High School Athletic Association promoting the value and values of educational athletics.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
One more time, shout out my brother for making all these rejoiners. These are awesome.
Straight heat.
989-837-6125. Quick question for those out there. We don't have to spend more than just this segment on it, but we were talking so much about Yzerman and so much about Langdon and the moves that have been made and what we want to see happen for both the Pistons and the Wings here with free agency. This is the second day of NBA free agency. I guess this is still the first day. It opened up yesterday at 6 p.m. And then it opens up today for the NHL at noon. But since we were talking so much about that, I was like, why not work this in? What is Brad Holmes' best move as the Lions GM? There's a lot to choose from. But me personally, I would say being at pick number 6 in 2023, and we spent all offseason, who are they going to draft? They're going to be what was his name? Tyrese Wilson? That's who I wanted. He ended up going to Vegas, and he stunk. So good thing he didn't listen to me. And he ends up moving back to 12 and then taking an enormous risk in drafting a running back. And you knew the repercussions that were going to happen online. Not that Brad Holmes cares about it, but what was all of our reactions? Why on earth did they just draft a running back in the first round? These guys grow on trees. They already have DeAndre Swift, who none of us loved, but was a more than capable back. Humongous risk for Brad Holmes, but they saw the talent. Obviously, it's panned out. I am buying as much Jahmyr Gibbs stock as humanly possible this offseason because I think he's about to launch himself into that best running back in the league conversation. The last 2 games of the season in Washington, which is going to get forgotten about because it's so scarring to Lions fans, and against Minnesota, the 5 touchdowns game, he was unstoppable in those 2 games. Like a legitimate cheat code. No one could get him. And if he can play like that, or 80% of that this entire regular season, I think it's pretty clear we're talking about him as one of the 2 to 3 best running backs in the league, if not even higher, depending on if Saquon Barkley can stay healthy. And that's kind of the thing going for Gibbs is, you have a David Montgomery to take some pressure off of him. Maybe his total yardage in total touchdowns, even though he led the league in touchdowns last year, isn't as high as what Barkley put up. But in terms of the what you can do every time you have the ball in your hands, I don't know if there's anybody more electrifying than Jahmyr Gibbs playing in the NFL right now who's not named Saquon Barkley. And I think those 2 guys are way closer than people realize. The fact that they were able to take that risk at 12, obviously everyone hated it at the time. I would say that is Brad Holmes' best draft move.
I would say that's his best draft move as well, especially because of the fact that he traded down. And just the risk that it was taken, because you could just say, drafting Hutchinson, but he kind of just fell into their lap a little bit. That wasn't a major risk involved with that one. So I like that pick. I'm going a different route, though. I think it's the Jared Goff, Matt Stafford trade. And obviously it's worked out for the Rams probably more. Not probably, definitely more, because they won the Super Bowl. But they were able to draft Jahmyr Gibbs and trade back with the 6th pick because of that trade. They were able to acquire Jameson Williams because of the Matt Stafford trade. Jared Goff, you got an extra first-round pick because he was viewed as this negative asset, and he's turned into, one of the arguable 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL. So I would say that move set them up for success in the draft. Obviously, him being incredible at drafting plays into this. But that set them up to make those picks. So I would say simply the Jared Goff, Matt Stafford trade. And it was like his first move, basically, too. He was 2 months into the job.
All the players that the Lions ended up getting for that deal is the reason that they were able to build the roster.
Yeah, you draft Kirby Joseph late. You draft, you could say all those crazy picks that he's made.
And a lot of those picks didn't even end up being made. It's like they dealt him again.
Like Jameson Williams.
But here's here's all the players the Lions ended up with because they traded away Matthew Stafford. Gave up no picks. They traded Matthew Stafford in exchange for Jared Goff, Ife Melifonwu, Jamison Williams, Josh Pascal, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, and Broderick Martin. Not all those guys are hits. Broderick Martin obviously comes to mind as a guy who...
you'll take one L there for the major W's that are in the mix there.
Yeah, he's going to be fighting for his life to even make the roster. Ife Melifonwu not on the team anymore, thank God. But between Gibbs, JMO, and Laporta, I mean, they built their entire offense through this draft.
Yeah.
Through this trade. You know, like, and the fact that they were able to get Jared Goff in the process of it too, it's like, really, you're just throwing in, I mean, obviously you're going to throw in Goff because of the situation. You
right.
Trade away a franchise quarterback, you better be getting at least a quarterback back in return. But the fact that you didn't have to take one of these draft picks on him, yeah, like, I guess.
And you got to take the high pick on Aiden Hutchinson.
Right. Our two, you know, we have different answers, but they're somewhat aligned. Mine's just a little bit more in-depth in terms of what they did with this deal. But yeah, those would be the two moves for me where it's like, all right, the first one that I brought up, the trading back for Gibbs, that one was the most bold. This one is the reason that the Lions are now set up for the future, the past couple of years and the next few seasons. I know it's going to get a little bit tricky with the salary cap, but the whole reason the Lions are going to be able to have 5 years, when you take everything into consideration, 5 years minimum of sustained success is because of how much they were able to get in return for Matthew Stafford. This was reading the market perfectly. This was recognizing that this is a team that's basically given up on their quarterback in the Rams and Jared Goff, which, by the way, didn't that quarterback documentary drop today?
Yes.
Pretty sure that came out today.
Well, the trailer came out yesterday on McAfee show, and looked pretty good.
Are you just saying that, though?
No, it looked pretty sick. Like, the Goff stuff looked awesome.
I'll have to look into that later. But the fact that they're able to build this sustainable success because they read the situation, yeah, you could definitely make the argument that is Brad Holmes.
Is that the biggest trade, like, of your life, of our life?
For Detroit sports?
Yeah. Just the fact that it was the quarterback getting traded and how much it has affected the franchise in a positive way.
Well, not only affected the Lions in a positive way, but like all the storylines of like the times that they've ran into Stafford since then.
And Stafford goes and wins the Super Bowl year one in LA.
And comes back, and all the Lions fans.
And I'm just thinking at the time how big of a deal that trade was. Like when Stafford was officially announced, like, yeah, they're going to trade Stafford. Like, it was such a big deal.
I remember sitting in a cafeteria in the towers over at CMU. So I was a freshman? Yeah, I was a freshman. And my mind was just blown. It was like I had never really watched Lions football without Matthew Stafford, unless he was hurt. So, and then they move on. It's like, all right, this is a rebuild. Jared Goff going to be a bridge quarterback. Nope. They end up giving him an extension, build their future because of that draft. Yeah, you can make the argument that that's Brad Holmes' best move ever. And it set them up. To answer your question, that probably is the biggest trade. I was trying to think of like
Blake Griffin trade was pretty big.
The Blake Griffin trade is what got me invested into being a Pistons fan. Like I casually followed the Drummond Reggie Jackson era, but once they got Blake Griffin in the building, and I get it, like any logical person who followed the NBA kind of knows that basically handcuffed the Pistons.
Crazy trade, yeah.
Yeah, they handcuffed the Pistons to the bottom
Stan Van Gundy.
And limited them from hitting their ceiling. Not that they really had a ceiling, but at the same time, they were moving into an arena and were desperate for fans to come to the building. And Blake Griffin was one of the biggest stars in the NBA at the time. And me as a kid, was all of a sudden very invested in the Pistons. I think that trade did its purpose. You know what I mean?
Right. Everyone in the comments is probably spamming Miguel Cabrera trade. It's a little bit pre-our time.
I was going to say...
Just want to preface that.
I was going to bring up the Prince Fielder trade, but the more I think about it, I just don't think anything compares to trading Stafford for Goff. So
yeah, I would agree.
That would be Brad Holmes' biggest move ever. I think we're still waiting for Trajan Langdon's and obviously Steve Yzerman. We sparked that conversation because it is NFL and NHL and NBA free agency time this week. So we're kind of sitting here patiently waiting for some Pistons news because free agency's open right now. And the big rumor right now is Dennis Schroeder sign and trade to Sacramento in exchange for Malik Monk, former Sixth Man of the Year. That to me would be a thumbs up. It kind of saved this offseason so far. I know it's only been less than 24 hours of free agency, but I'm not a fan of the solo move that they've made, and their backs are against the wall right now. Not even their fault, but a little bit against the wall, or at least like a wrench was thrown into their plans because of this Malik Beasley situation. being investigated by the feds and the NBA for a potential gambling scandal from a couple of seasons ago. He put the Pistons in a very, very tough spot because he was set to get a $40 million contract. That doesn't seem like it's going to happen anymore. 989-837-6125. Cross my fingers hoping for a live reaction for that at some point today. But until then, how about we circle back to this Detroit Red Wings team because Steve Yzerman, he actually has his back against the wall. It's coming up in the 10 o'clock hour. Ben Bosscher Show.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
At Scott Family Dental, they don't just care for your teeth, they care for you. Dr. Brandon Scott, a Michigan State graduate and Midland native, specializes in preventative, cosmetic, and restorative care. But what truly sets him apart is his commitment to building personal connections with every patient.
I value my patients as unique individuals and strive to make the best care decisions for you. I will always be honest and open regarding your care. That is my promise to you and anyone I treat.
Scott Family Dental. Let's bring out your best smile together.
At Tommy's Express, you can get your car clean, shiny and dry in just minutes. Our state-of-the-art eco-friendly wash delivers a spotless finish every time. With the Tommy Club app, enjoy unlimited washes or paper wash. Skip the line with license plate recognition and manage everything right from your phone. Fast, clean, and simple. Visit Tommy's Express today and see the difference. Text Clean Card to 86697 for a free works wash.
Offer valid for new guests only. By participating, you consent to receive promotional information text from Tommy's Express. Message and data rates may apply. Message frequency varies. At First Class Epoxy Floor and Counter, floors don't just get coated, they get a makeover. Epoxy's so tough, it shrugs off spills, stains, and even your wildest dance moves. Garages, workshops, anywhere you want a floor that's smooth, shiny, and just a little bit sassy, they handle it all with style. No more boring floors. Get ready to impress everyone who walks through the door. Slide into durability and flair. First Class Epoxy Floor and Counter, where your floors get the VIP treatment they didn't know they needed.
Wackadoo! Bluey and her little sister Bingo are joining the Great Lakes Loons again this summer for Red, White, and Bluey Weekend presented by My Michigan How. It's 2 games of fun, laughter, and memories with our favorite Blue healer. Whether it's Saturday night or Sunday afternoon, don't miss out. For tickets, visit loons.com. This is the Great Lakes Loons, everyone's hometown team. You want sports takes? You want local voices that own the mic? Yeah. We've got them on Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt. It kicks off at 6 a.m. with Anthony Bellino on Spin on Sports.
Rise and shine.
From 9 to noon, don't miss Michigan's newest sports show, The Ben Bosscher Show.
Hey, remember that.
At noon, you get America's smartest sports takes, The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
I want Shador to play.
And at 3, the one and only Bill Simonson and The Huge Show. This is where real fans stay locked in. 100.9 The Mitt.
When it comes to a gun suicide attempt, all it takes is a moment.
Heather and I had an argument just like any other couple. I was lost. I had snapped. I had a gun and I was going to take my own life. Heather helped me realize that there was still a life to live for the better of myself, my family. My weapon is now safely put away.
A moment of crisis can happen to anyone. Store your guns, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo. Hear more safe stories at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
From the Blazy Electric Studios, this is Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt. WLUN, Pinconning Bay City, Saginaw, Midland.
The Ben Bosscher Show live on 100.9 The Mitt. Give us a follow on Twitter, X, TikTok, Instagram, and of course we're live on YouTube as well. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So NHL free agency opens up in 2 hours, noon, and the Red Wings have already started clearing cap space. They trade Tarasenko to Minnesota in exchange for absolutely nothing except the ability to open up a little bit more cap space and potentially see a move here done at noon, whether that's via free agency or via trade is still to be determined. But it does feel like pressure is mounting for Steve Yzerman. I brought it up to open up the show. I'll bring it up again because I think it's worthy of noting. The Red Wings, Hockey Town, tied for the 4th longest active playoff drought in sports. No bueno. That's shocking to hear. because you almost forget how long it's been since there has been playoff hockey played in Detroit. 2016 was the last time. And Steve Yzerman has been here. This is going to be his 7th season. So even if Steve Yzerman was only in year 4, like there's a tremendous amount of pressure to get the Red Wings back into the playoffs. Nobody wants to be patient about this anymore. The patience is gone, and it's rightfully so. This thing has been moving at a snail's pace, and Yzerman has failed to put his chips in the middle of the table at any point. It feels like he continues to fold his hands year in and year out each offseason. Last offseason was one of the more disappointing offseasons for the Wings in a long time because, 2023, the season ends, and you're 1 point out from making the playoffs. You win your last game to try to get in, and results from around the league prevent you from getting in. And then you expect to kind of push your chips in the table, make a big move for the offseason. You end up trading away Jake Wallman to shed cap space. You bring in Tarasenko. All these moves end up being extremely disappointing. They trade for a ton of aging veterans, and it just obviously does not work out. They just lost too much production offensively at the end of the day, and they take a huge step back this year. They fire their coach, Derek Lalonde. They bring in Todd McClellan. The team gets hot really quick, has that spark, and then kind of just fades off, and they become one of the more mediocre teams across the league that had some serious problems when it came to the power kill. One of the worst power kill teams in the history of professional hockey. So this team's going to need to address some of those problems here in free agency when it opens up here in a couple of hours. I guess my perspective on this is your last straw, Yzerman. This is it. Everyone wants this to work out, myself included. But you can't just sit here waiting around for it to work out. It's been 9 years since playoff hockey has been in Detroit. So as much as everyone is romanticizing the idea of Steve Yzerman building a team to win a Stanley Cup and bring that trophy back to Detroit, if you can't make the playoffs in 7 years as the GM, get out. It is simply that simple. You have 7 years to make the postseason, and if you can't do it once, there is zero reason you still need to be around. So the fact that they're shedding cap space, the fact that they're trading away future picks, a 2026 fourth-round pick, a 2027 second-round pick, to bring in John Gibson, who, again, only played in 29 games last year for Anaheim. This is a 3-time All-Star goalie. It's an upgrade, even though you're taking a risk on someone who's a little bit older, has played 12 years in the league. It's only 32 years old. So, kind of younger than most people realize, even though he's been around for so long. He just made his debut so early. But regardless, it's an upgrade over the carousel that you've had over the past couple of seasons, whether it's Alex Lyon or Mrazek last year that didn't really work out. Cam Talbot still around. There is just no consistency when it comes to who is in net for the goal for the Red Wings. And now that they've traded some capital for a guy that you hope to now be the number one goalie on the team, that obviously that's the goal. We'll see what actually happens. It shows that the Wings are looking to win now, right? It shows that we got to stop looking for the future at some point and try to win now. That seems to be where the Wings are in terms of their state, and I don't blame Steve Yzerman for thinking that way. I think it's a little bit overdue, if I'm being honest, because now it does feel like there's some pressure, and if that pressure doesn't get met with the expectation, which is to make the playoffs, Steve Yzerman might be out of a job here pretty soon. With that being said, Chris Ilitch, not notoriously known for just spending money out the wazoo, and if that means keeping around Steve Yzerman so you don't have to pay two guys to do the same job while one of them's basically unemployed but still collecting checks, I guess I wouldn't be totally shocked at that either. I think this is the last offseason for Steve Yzerman unless they make the playoffs this year, Kyle.
Is it just making the playoffs? Because as I'm sitting here listening to you talk about this, the expectation for the Red Wings is much higher than other franchises.
Mm-hmm.
Is just sneaking into the playoffs, like if they would have 2 years ago, really the goal?
No, because yes and no, because after they just missed out on it in 23, I said last year the goal should have been
good about it at that time.
The goal should be to not only make the playoffs, but win a playoff series. That would be the natural progression. And they regressed last year. So now it's back to making the playoffs when in reality, year 7 of a rebuild, you should be borderline contending. But it's just not the situation.
Borderline.
It's not the situation that the Wings are in right now. So I don't want to put an unrealistic expectation or goal for what they can achieve this year. But yeah,
and it's much harder to rebuild in hockey. We've heard all the excuses and everything.
Yeah,
when you're 7 years in, the excuses are off the table, right?
Right. Like, how long can you sit here and be like, well, look at the situation he inherited? And to bring it up again, they were the worst team in hockey with the highest payroll in hockey. So I understand it is a horrific situation to take over. It's also more than 5 years. It's 7 years ago, right? How long can you hide behind that? The answer is no longer. No longer. They have to be aggressive here. So
they have to make the playoffs, but not just make it. Like, you got to be competing in the playoffs.
And hope to have some sort of expectation. Yeah. Like, making the playoffs should be a small victory lap because you got to end that drought. But it shouldn't be.
Of course.
Remember we had this conversation exactly when the Pistons made the playoffs. Like, it was more so like leading up to the playoffs when it was like, yeah, they're basically locked in. During the month of March, it was like the expectation is no longer just to make the playoffs. The expectation is to compete in the playoffs. Depending on who they play, I think they're going to have a realistic chance of winning. And it turns out, I think all those things were true, even though they lose in 7 games to New York. That was such a close series that I feel like
6, but yeah.
What'd I say?
7.
Oh, yeah, 6 games. It feels like they competed their butts off in that series, and
totally.
I'm happy the way that they showed up in the playoffs. Like, it wasn't the happy to be their team, right? And I don't want the Wings to fall into the trap of the happy to be their team. But before they can even think about that, how about we put together a competent offseason for Steve Yzerman this year, starting at noon today? And I guess it's already started via the draft, making a move, bringing in...
Right, and these moves that they've made...
A goalie and shedding cap.
...lead you to believe that something else is coming. So if something else doesn't, then it's just... The expectation for this season is just you're already in a negative thought, you know?
Yeah, which has kind of just been the overarching...
you already are right now,
theme of the Wings for the past 3 years. But like I said, I liked what they've done in the past week. I'm not going to sit here and give you a deep analysis on their first-round draft pick and Bear. You're probably not going to see him for a couple of seasons. But I like that they're moving away capital for a goalie, right? Like, that's been the biggest Achilles heel of this team for a few years now. Obviously, the defense hasn't helped out the goalie situation, but the goalie hasn't made any noise for themselves either, whoever they end up throwing in there. I like that move, right? If depending on what happens here with Tarasenko, I like shedding him away and shedding cap and getting rid of him because he was no help last year. Now, if they end up doing nothing with it, like they did with Jake Wallman, and they trade away him and attach a pick, they didn't have to do that this time, but they attached a pick for future considerations. Okay, and they end up doing nothing with it, then I'm going to be upset. But I have every reason to believe that Steve Yzerman understands the pressure that's being built on him right now and has to be not all in, but you got to start playing some of your hands, right? You got to start pushing some chips to the middle of the table and trying to get something back. That's the situation the Red Wings find themselves in. We'll circle back to that eventually. 989-837-6125. We're going to take a trip around the league next, and then Chris Castellani is going to come on to talk a little bit Detroit Tigers. Before we get to any of that, I'll tell you what. I'm filling in for Huge later today. That's until 6. Right after 6. You know how I'm going to re-energize myself? I'm going to be tired. It's going to be 6 hours radio. I'm going to be tired, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drive my butt over to the Midland Community Center, the Greater Midland Community Center, because the Greater Midland Community Center is the hub for health, wellness, and fun, right in the heart of Midland. From fitness classes, an open gym, to swimming, youth sports, and family activities, there's something for everyone in this building. Affordable memberships, expert staff, and a welcoming space for all ages and abilities. If you're hosting an event, ask about their rental space and full-service event support. Stay active, stay connected, all under one roof. That's the Greater Midland Community Center. Learn more or sign up today at greatermidland.org. Take a trip around the league when we come back.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Ace Hardware and Sports in downtown Midland has some extra savings for rewards members this month. Let's clean up that yard. Save $3 instantly on select Roundup and Ortho weed killers. Save $10 on 64-ounce spruce, weed, and grass killer. You know what season it is? Grilling season. Free assembly and delivery on grills, $399 and up from brands like Weber and Traeger. Need that deck touched up? Do it and save $10 instantly on a gallon of Cabot exterior stain.
The new rebranded Matt Smith Modern Realty.
Well, Matt Smith Outdoors was really reflective of how I started my real estate journey, taking my outdoor experience, moving that into the real estate space to help people buy and sell land. So many people in this region ended up calling me and wanting me to work with them to help them buy and sell homes. This new brand was more reflective of what I'm delivering to people in this region every day.
Something is amiss at Dow Diamond. The award-winning True Crime Night returns for the Great Lakes Loons on Thursday, July 10th. And this time, our beloved golden bobblehead is missing. It's an evening filled with suspense and intrigue. Join the investigation to uncover the mystery and help solve the case of who framed Lou E. Loon. This is the Great Lakes Loons, everyone's hometown team. From the hometown heroes to the college legends to the pros on Sunday, 100.9 The Mitt is your home for wall-to-wall play-by-play coverage. High school football, basketball, and hockey.
Region champions for the first time in school history.
Michigan State football and basketball.
Touchdown, MSU!
The NFL, Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night primetime games. And don't think we forgot about your hometown team. The Great Lakes Loons.
That ball's over and out of here.
100.9 The Mitt.
Have you noticed bad behavior has become normalized at interscholastic athletic events? Some fans seem angry. They lack civility toward one another. Some even get aggressive and unruly. Time out! What is going on? This has to stop. Let's not forget, school sports aren't just about winning. And they're definitely not an excuse to take your frustrations out on the official or the opponent. They're about teaching lessons like perseverance, respect, and empathy, so students can learn and grow as people, not just as players. We all have a role to play in setting a good example for our students and teaching them these important values. So fans, it's time to step up your game and behave positively at interscholastic athletic events in Michigan.
This message presented by the MHSAA and the Michigan Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
Ben Bosscher Show, live right here on 100.9 The Mitt. Let's, take a quick time out on free agency and fuel our football fever. Take a trip around the league.
It's time to zoom out and go around the league.
Kyle, I'm getting pretty sick for football again. I don't know why, but this weekend I was really fiending for some football.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, you heard me yesterday, the Thanksgiving stuff. It's all because of football, man. I'm itching for it.
I got a text message from a buddy. It's like, when does the Phil Steele magazine come out? And I was like, first of all, I'm not Google. I don't know. Then I looked it up on Google, and I realized it comes out 4th of July. So next week, this weekend, I get to just sit through and read everything about all the college football teams. I cannot wait for that. But today we're not doing college football. Today we're doing NFL.
Yes. Yeah, NFL, The Athletic. One lingering question for every NFL team as the league's summer break begins. So I'll throw you a team. We're just going to do NFC teams today. And I want you to give me your question that you would have for each of these teams. And then obviously I'll give you the one that they list.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right, let's start off. Alphabetical order here. The Arizona Cardinals. What's the lingering question?
Is Kyler Murray the future of this franchise? Kyler Murray's a really good quarterback. But we've done so many times, like, who are the top 10? Is Jared Goff the top 10? You know whose name never comes up? Is Kyler Murray. It kind of feels to me like we've already seen peak Kyler Murray, which wouldn't make me feel great as an Arizona fan. If they don't dramatically improve offensively this year, I'm going to start to wonder if there's just a ceiling for Kyler Murray in terms of what he can bring an NFL team to, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be the major question, right? Because his name has kind of been tossed around a little bit as well, as far as maybe the Cardinals could move him at some point. They keep it a little bit more simple here. Did they do enough to improve offensively?
What they do? They still have Trey McBride.
They went defense, right? They got
Yeah.
Josh Sweat. They drafted Will Johnson. They drafted Walter Nolan.
You're really just banking on Marvin Harrison to be that alpha guy this year, and for Trey McBride to
I
not
think you
be
can bank on that, right?
I would think so. I don't want to say he had a disappointing year, but just based on the years that Brian Thomas had and Malik Neighbors had,
And based on expectation, and this guy was
Yeah,
talked
it
about
wasn't
his generation,
great.
which he still could be.
But the whole conversation around around Marvin Harrison was never like he's going to be the best receiver in the league. It was look how high this guy's floor is. He was like a can't miss prospect, and I don't feel any differently about
Right.
that. I think he's going to have a long career and play a long time in this league, and doesn't really have a ton of weaknesses. I don't know if he'll ever be the best receiver in the league, but I think he's going to be here for a long time.
Right.
It's just a matter of if he can take that next step up, because that would obviously help out Kyler.
Let's move on to the Atlanta Falcons. What do you got for Atlanta?
Which one of those edge rushers that they took in the first round is going to justify them moving future picks? Took two guys in Pierce and Jalen Walker.
Traded their first for next year.
Yeah, one of those guys has to make it justifiable that they gave up next year's first to do that. One of these guys has to hit. Ideally, both of them do. But if none of them do, you F yourself.
Yeah, that's essentially what they put here. How much can the young pass rushers help now?
Yeah.
Basically the same thing. It's a big deal. We'll see how that turns out for them. Let's move on to their NFC South partner, the Carolina Panthers.
Was what you saw in the final 10 games of Bryce Young something you can tangibly point to and say, we've got something here? Because obviously the first year and a half of Bryce Young didn't go according to plan, but those last 10 games from last season, 210 yards per game, 15-6 touchdown to interception ratio, 22 rushing yards per game. I'm not saying like I don't know, man. There was something there. There was some joy he was playing with.
Definitely something, yeah.
And the bar was low, and the numbers I just read off aren't wowing anybody, but a mass improvement and a mass 180 from what we saw from the first year and a half. He got benched, and he came back and was a completely different quarterback.
But would it also shock you if they're picking quarterback round 1 next year?
No, that's why it's my question. Do they have something tangible? I lean more no, but he definitely was improved in the second half of last season. I think they need to see that and hit the ground running again next season. That's the big question. What did they list?
Yeah, I would agree. They go, did GM Dan Morgan do enough to address the NFL's worst defense?
Okay,
Which the
yeah,
answer is
also
no
fair.
right now, because they haven't really made any defensive moves. It's been all prioritized offense, so we'll see. All right, let's talk about the NFC North team, the Chicago Bears.
My question would be, does their offseason win, all of them, translate to wins on the football field? Just does it translate? Steal Ben Johnson away. We glazed him for 2 years, so anyone who's sitting here trashing Ben Johnson, got to look yourself in the mirror from a couple of years ago. They fixed their offensive line. They draft Colston Loveland. Is it going to translate? Everyone unanimously agrees that this is the team that won the offseason. Does it translate to wins?
That would definitely be the major question. It's similar to where they go here. They just go who will start at left tackle, and it kind of talks about the moves that they've made this offseason because all their other offensive line is pretty locked up with the moves that they made. And Ben Johnson obviously having a great offensive line in Detroit plays into that. Moving on to the Dallas Cowboys.
Which version of Dak Prescott are we getting post-hamstring surgery? You can't just throw that out the window. He's an older quarterback, one of the older quarterbacks in the league. Had surgery on his hamstring to close out last season. Are we going to get the Dak that threw over 400 times and led the league in completions and attempts, or are we going to get somewhat of a diminished version of Dak? Dak's never been like a great runner, but has he lost all his mobility? I don't know.
It's a valid question, but what they go with is where I would lean as well. Who is playing running back for this team?
Yeah.
Because they didn't address it last year either.
Well, if all these guys suck, I know they drafted
Jadon Blue.
Yeah.
Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders signed.
But if these guys stink, Dak's going to have to throw the ball a lot more, and I don't know if he's capable of that coming back from a hamstring injury.
You mean when these guys stink?
Yes.
All right,
I'm not
it's
out
time.
on Blue.
Right. The Detroit Lions.
Is the offensive line still dominant? The offensive line won't be bad, but you lose out on Ragnow, you lose out on Zeitler and replace them with guys in year 1 or year 2. Will it still be dominant? I think is my biggest question for the Lions heading into the season.
Yeah, that's where they go. They just take the opposite approach. They say, could the Lions offensive line take a step back in 2025?
Yeah. Well, the answer to that is yes, they're going to.
Yes, it definitely could, and it probably will. Right. How much of a step is the big question.
Correct.
Another NFC North team, the Green Bay Packers.
You know what? I'm copying and pasting the last 4 years and I'm pasting it into the next 4 years as well. Who's the alpha receiver? You don't get to win Super Bowls without having alpha receivers. And they have a bunch of wait, I wasn't in a fraternity. It's alpha, beta. What's after that? What's the
Sigma?
C? Yeah, they have a bunch of
how that is.
They have a bunch of beta receivers, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Who's the alpha?
That's good. They go with, will Lucas Van Ness play like a first-round pick? Edge rusher they took in the first round in last year's draft.
Also a good one.
Right. Wasn't extremely great as a rookie. All right, moving on. Ton of AFC teams here in a row. Okay, the Rams.
Ken Stafford and Ken Nakua stay healthy. Nakua plays the wide receiver position like a battering ram. Like he's just seeking out, laying someone out flat. He's seeking out contact at all times. That'd be a little bit frightening for me if I was a Rams fan. Stafford, obviously, with his age and all the elbow and shoulder stuff, it's just, can they stay healthy would be my lingering question.
They go with, do the Rams have enough firepower at cornerback? They got two pretty old guys back there. It was a good front seven on this team last year, but the secondary definitely a big question mark. So, valid question. How about the last NFC North team, the Minnesota Vikings?
Can J.J. McCarthy beat Brock Purdy? Run the system, get the ball in the hands of Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, Jordan Addison. Just run the system. So it's what he did in college. Again, we talked about this with Jared Goff for 2 years. Being a system quarterback is not a bad thing, but for some reason it has a negative connotation. If J.J. McCarthy is going to be successful in year one, it's going to be because he's running the system well. That doesn't mean he can't, break out, scramble. Brock Purdy was doing all those things last year, but at the end of the day, extend the play. Don't try to do too much. Get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. Can J.J. McCarthy be Brock Purdy? That would be my question.
Yeah, that's exactly what they go. Is J.J. McCarthy's floor high enough for a team as loaded as this one?
I think it is.
How about the New Orleans Saints? This is a good one.
Who are we taking 1.01?
That's good. They go with, what are the Saints? Just hilarious stuff.
Would you put it minus odds that they have the first overall pick?
No, that's crazy.
They'd be the favorite, right?
They'd be the favorite, yes, but probably like plus 200 or so. Here's another team that could be in that mix, the New York Giants.
When does Jackson Dart take over, would be my question.
That literally, word for word, how long until Jackson Dart takes over?
That wasn't word for word. Slightly different.
Close enough. Couple more teams here. Philadelphia Eagles.
Can Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts get along now that their offensive coordinator, Kellen Mond, is the Saints head coach, promoted from within? Their new OC, Kevin Petula. So, do the coach and the quarterback still get along?
Not bad. They go with, how effective will the secondary be?
Fair enough.
How about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Is Evans' predecessor in the building? Jalen McMillan, Emeka Egbuka, they've drafted the last couple seasons. Mike Evans is not going to be able to play forever. Finally showed some signs of aging last year with an injury. So is his predecessor in the building? Because they've done a pretty good job of trying to line those guys up.
We're going to skip these other two teams and just close out with this playoff team. The Washington Commanders.
Is the sophomore slump coming for Jaden Daniels? Would be my question.
Yeah, that's a good one. They go with, did the front office do enough to substantially help last season's defense?
We shall see.
Yeah, I guess.
We shall see. Bobby Wagner re-signed there. All right, anyway. All right, next, we're working in some Detroit Tigers. They had an off day yesterday. They start their series against Washington today. We're going to bring in Chris Castellani on to talk with us next on the Ben Bosscher Show, live on 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
For 100 years, Forward Energy has been more than just a home heat and fuel provider. We've been a part of your community, and you've been a part of our family through every storm, every season, and every moment. We've been right here, keeping you warm and safe. As your hometown energy provider, we deliver more than just propane. We deliver peace of mind with reliable service, quality you can count on, and a commitment to always being there when you need us most. Forward Energy, 100 years strong, fueled by family, powered by community.
From making athletic footwear stronger and lighter to powering the future of electric racing vehicles, material science and R&D are the MVPs of innovation. At Dow, we collaborate with customers and partners to tackle a wide range of sports product challenges with cutting-edge advancements in technology. Dow's innovations can help to improve performance and sustainability throughout the world of sports. Dow, at the intersection of sports and science.
Tired of floors that snore? Walls that whisper, meh? Premier Tile in Midland is here to spice things up one tile at a time. They've got backsplash that'll make your pasta jealous.
What?
Shower walls that'll actually sing in the morning. And floors so fabulous, you'll consider eating dinner off them. Stylish, affordable, slightly obsessed with grout. Visit Premier Tile, located between Stark and Sturgeon, right off US 10. Or at PremierTileStone.com.
Midland Eye Care wants you to know, according to a recent study conducted by the AOA, the Optical Laboratories Association, and the Vision Council, nearly half of all glasses ordered online had either prescription errors or failed to meet minimum safety standards. Midland Eye Care offers a full-service optical department meeting all your eye care needs. So call your local Midland Eye Care and avoid incorrect prescriptions costing you time and money. Midland Eye Care, your vision source on Eastman Road in Midland, on Cedar and Gladwin, and on East Washington and Freeland.
This summer, the fun is back and it's bigger than ever. The Moody Foundation invites you to Bounce and Bites, a free, family-friendly event series happening every month in Midland. We're talking about bounce houses, food trucks, live music, and good vibes, all for a great cause. Every dollar we raise helps local kids afford sports, music, art, and more. Join us all summer long. Check out the full schedule at bounceandbites.com. The word bounce, the letter N, the word bites.com. The Moody Foundation, building community one bounce at a time.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman Night at Dow Diamond on Saturday, July 12th. The first 1,000 fans through the gates will receive an exclusive Super Lou E bobblehead courtesy of My Michigan Hell. Create a lasting memory after the game as you take in Fireworks Loontacular, presented by Farm Bureau Insurance. Don't miss this super night of fun. Get your tickets at loons.com.
Health concerns in high school sports go beyond physical injuries. The mental well-being of our young people is a hotter topic than ever before. The Michigan High School Athletic Association website has resources to help adults and students recognize potential problems and deal with them in a positive way. You can learn more about these mental health resources on the Health and Safety page of the MHSAA website. A message from the MHSAA promoting the value and values of educational athletics.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
Welcome back, Ben Bosscher Show, live on 100.9 The Mitt, live on YouTube as well. Right now we bring on special guest Chris Castellani of the Chris and Company podcast, one of the best Detroit Tigers voices out there. Chris, how's it going today?
It's going well, man. I appreciate you having me.
So you were at the Sunday night game. I was at the Sunday night game. I didn't realize this until afterwards, but we were sitting like right next to each other. I think we were in the same section. Were you in 142?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I don't know how I didn't see you at some point. I would have come and said hi and introduced myself because you and I have talked a couple times when I've done huge show and stuff, but I've never actually met you in person. So I wish I would have seen you there. That would have been fun. But that was, to me, the most fun Tigers game I can remember going to in a long time. And I don't make it down to more than a few games a year just because it's a long drive from up here. But that to me, being able to watch Scooble in a nationally televised setting, it was the most memorable Tigers game I can remember in a really long time. And I guess I'll just leave it open for you to take over there because I kept telling Kyle this yesterday. You just kind of knew when you walked into the building that Scooble was going to have an epic day. And sure enough, 13 Ks matches a career high. He does.
Yeah, you know what, man? I'm in complete agreement on you, and I think also the fact that he gave up 4 runs in his last outing, which like by his standards was like 20.
Right.
You know, so I'm like he's gonna pitch angry, and you know, to me, I've been trying to put my finger on exactly what it was that made it so special, but I viewed Sunday, as the ultimate. Like this was kind of the end of the arc of the official like Detroit Tigers are back. Type of way of looking at it, because this all started with the run that they had last season, and obviously throughout this year they've been playing really good baseball. But it's tough when you're not in New York, LA, or Boston to be on a national stage like that, and they finally got an opportunity to be on a national stage with your best pitcher going. You not only have Tarek pitching out of his mind, but you get home runs from your stars like Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter hit one. Crowd was unbelievable. No, it was a really memorable game. It was one of those you take kind of a mental snapshot of, because it'd been a long time since we kind of experienced something like that. And I think it's just so cool that with the team being as young as they are, it's one of those games where it feels like this isn't the end of anything, but kind of the beginning of this new age of, this team being good and sustaining that quality for a long time. It was awesome.
I had so much fun at the game that I came on Monday's show and was like, I think there should be 2 Sunday night games every week, because I know everyone complained about, when ESPN does the double Monday night games during the football season. Yeah. But I was like, baseball's a perfect sport to actually have 2 Monday night games going at the same time, because at the end of the day, it's a regional sport. You care about your team. I know there's people across, America and the world that care about every team, but like at the end of the day, you're going to watch your team over all the others. And I was like, I just wish the Tigers had more Sunday night games. And I'm sure after that there will be. So, all right, All-Star voting now in phase 2. How many Tigers do you envision playing in that game? I think it's a max of 5 and a minimum of 3. I think it's going to end up being 4.
I think we're in complete agreement, and this might be a boring answer, but yeah, you nailed it right there. I think that Glaber, Riley, Tarek, all in, without a doubt, gonna happen. Probably all 3 of them starting. I mean, the pitcher starting in the All-Star game, a lot of it's dependent on kind of when his last start of the first half was, but most likely I think that he'll be the starting pitcher. Riley having an unbelievable campaign, the best of his young career. Then, of course, Glaber, who has really established himself as the best hitting second baseman in the American League. I do think it will be 4. Like, that's my ultimate prediction, just because, it's so strange how this works, because Hobby has been as criticized, rightfully so, as any Detroit athlete in this city over the last several years. And yet, what is so unique, I think, and the fan voting is a huge, indicator of this, he's still a very popular player. Like, and part of that goes back to his time in Chicago, the amount of national exposure he got, being a part of the World Series run there, finishing second for the MVP. But I think that story is one people have connected with, and the fact that not only starting, but potentially starting in center field, which is not something anybody predicted. After that, it gets a little bit tough. I'd be willing to venture we see one other one that is some combination of Torque, Dingler, maybe Canely, or one of the relievers. You got to keep in mind as well, even if guys don't make it on the first try, there's always dropouts. There's always guys who are injured or don't really want to play in the game. So I would guess there's a chance we probably end up seeing 5. I'd love to see Dingler, or on a personal level, just McKinstry as that utility guy. I think that'd be an incredible story. But they're at a point now where, and we've seen it the inverse of this happen in the past with us being bad, but the better teams are going to get priority. And if there's somebody who drops out, one of the first people that they're going to think of are guys that play for the top teams in baseball. And that this year just happens to be Detroit, which is great.
Do you like the rule where every team gets an all-star bid? Because Kyle and I have debated this for the past couple of weeks. Because I don't like the idea of it. I don't like rewarding, like a team like Chicago, the White Sox, for getting a spot. And even like back when the Tigers were in that situation, when they were sending like Soto to be an all-star, I was like, this just doesn't feel right. Like, I don't know why the Tigers fans should be celebrating this. And then if it prevents, like, if they reserve that bullpen spot and Vest or Canely doesn't make the all-star game just to fill a need of a team that doesn't necessarily deserve an all-star, I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way for some reason. But Kyle, you want to jump in? Because you make the opposite argument.
Well, I think it allows every team to be represented at the All-Star game. It gives every fan base a reason to watch. Whereas, in the NBA All-Star game, a ton of teams aren't represented there. So that's how I feel.
What about you, Chris?
I agree more with Kyle while acknowledging and even agreeing in some sense to every argument you made about like the rewarding of not just mediocrity but bad teams, bad organizations. My whole issue with it, because I have enjoyed it, like I do think it makes things more accessible. You get to watch one of your guys, in there, even if you have a bad team. It's something to look forward to before your team, if you are bad, is inevitably kind of punting the season and trading guys away at the deadline. What has annoyed me with it in the past is that because every team needs to be represented, there's a chance, and this usually does happen, it knocks somebody who's actually more deserving of a spot out of the All-Star game. That's the one issue. I wish that they could figure out a way to expand the rosters and say, look, we want to make sure every team is represented, but we don't want to take a guy who's having an all-star caliber season and leave him on the outside looking in because we got to put somebody from the Rockies in this game. I remember that happened 2016. The Twins were terrible, and Ian Kinsler got knocked out of an roster or an all-star spot because the Twins needed a representative, and they just happened to get, I think it was Eduardo Nunez in the all-star game playing second. That's kind of lame. I've never really been a particularly huge fan of that element of it, but I do think it makes it unique compared to any other all-star game where when you look at NBA, NFL, what have you, it is just loaded up with as many guys who are on the top-tier teams. I think having that kind of diversity in the all-star game is a good thing, and it makes things more accessible.
What do you make of all these new arms that are in the bullpen right now? That I made the joke last week. I guess it wasn't really a joke, but Scott Harris, I don't typically give him a ton of credit because I think I've talked to you about this before. Most of the guys, that are having success are guys that were here before, and you made the point of the development has been what's really key for Scott Harris. But one thing that I'm looking at, like in present time, is he's just finding all these new bullpen arms. This whole new wave of them kind of got shown off in that athletic series, and now it feels like the likes of Carlos Hernandez, Dylan Smith, who have a little bit more pedigree in terms of what they expected from him being a third-round pick. But like Hernandez is a waiver pickup earlier this year. Matt Gage was signed to a minor league contract last season. Dietrich Enns obviously playing overseas for the past couple of seasons. Yeah. Even Chase Lee. I love Chase Lee's story. That's almost like an inside joke on the show of like, I just love Chase Lee, and how he got to the majors is just a crazy story. So like now I'm looking at this like Scott Harris, I don't know how he's finding all these guys, but he's given this new wave of bullpen guys to Chris Fetter to go fix up. And it almost tells me like, yeah, we're basically giving up on Hannafy, Holton, and Herter, at least a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's so much as giving up as giving these guys opportunities while also giving Holton and some of these guys a chance to fix themselves. I think, and this is something that I've been banging this drum for like 15, 16 years, like even before the Tigers, like when we were really good with Dombrowski, which is most organizations that are competent and that make deep runs and that win divisions and win a lot of games, you could find guys that can pitch an inning at a time. Like for some reason, even during our heyday, it was very difficult for the Tigers to have enough pitching depth within their organization to find guys that were good in middle relief or even good in late relief in some instances. That's been a major plus. I also think that this is an area that Scott Harris does deserve a lot of credit for. Now, Dylan Smith obviously was a draft pick, but his what I call scrap heap pieces, these waiver wire guys that he's picked up that other teams didn't think much of, they've been able to fix and get some really good baseball out of a lot of them. I mean, we're talking guys that were given up on. That list includes Tyler Holton, Zach McKinstry, you brought up Carlos Hernandez. I mean, I know obviously he was sent down, but a guy that gave him production for 2 years was a guy like Andy Ibanez. Like whether it's pitching or position players, the ability to add depth and find talent, I think is something that has not always existed here. And I think it's something that's gotten a million times better just in the short time in which Scott Harris has been here. But it does inspire a lot of hope because bullpens are fragile. That's just the nature of the game in this sport. I've seen pens that were dominant one year and then a total mess the next year. To be able to have that depth within your system, that doesn't mean you're not going to make moves at the deadline, which I think they will, but it does mean that year in and year out, they should be able to find guys that are able to kind of plug those holes if other guys fall off.
Chris Castellani joining us right here on the Ben Bosscher Show. I see that octopus behind you with the Red Wings jersey. We've been talking free agency for the most part throughout today's show. You got any Red Wings hot takes for us before you go?
Not particularly. I mean, I'm trying to get more into hockey over the last several seasons. It's just that I got ripped on Twitter back in 2019 because I was like, when Steve Yzerman got hired, I had a guy who told me this is the most significant day in Detroit sports since the Pistons won the championship in 2004. And I think that kind of said a statement about maybe where Detroit sports were at the time. But I remember thinking, okay, sweet, like the Red Wings are going to be awesome. So it's more of I guess I'll answer your question with a question and just be like, when's it coming? Because I do like hockey. I like the sport. I've enjoyed going to LCA to watch hockey games. And it's like, I feel like the team that has been the most historically successful in my lifetime, which is the Red Wings, in a city that's kind of on this resurgence with their sports teams, hasn't really been carrying their weight. It's weird to see.
Would you believe me if I told you the Red Wings have tied for the 4th longest playoff drought in all of sports, all 4 sports?
Which is crazy because was it the longest playoff run in the history of sports, or at least in hockey, like 20 something years in a row of making it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's hockey or if it's all of sports, but yeah, they made it 23, 22 years in a row, something insane. Like that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Chris Castellani, appreciate you taking the time to stop by. Hopefully, this isn't the last time we're able to talk. Actually, you and I are talking later on when I'm doing a huge show later.
I didn't want to break the fourth wall and ruin the mystique, but yeah, we are going to be talking in several hours here.
All right, so anyone here up in the Great Lakes Bay region, and that'll be all across Michigan too, doing the huge show. You guys can listen to Chris and I. I don't know when that's scheduled. Do you?
Well, I think it's 3:30.
All right, I'll talk to you at 3:30.
Yep.
See you, Chris.
Sounds good, buddy. See you guys around.
All right, Ben Bosscher Show live right here on 100.9 The Mitt, live on YouTube as well. Appreciate Chris for stopping by there. Always a good time catching up with him. Hey, let me tell you, Higher Standard Automotive, the name, it says it all. Honest, reliable auto repair done right the first time, locally owned and operated, serving Midland with expert service and small town integrity. From oil changes to brake jobs or diagnostics and major repairs, they handle it with precision and care. ASE certified techs, fair pricing, and commitment to doing things the right way, because your car deserves better than just good enough. Drive with confidence, choose Higher Standard Automotive. Part of that, when, the brake issues, I remember one time I used to drive this 2001 Buick Century. It was my first car. And not one, but 2 different occasions, my brakes in the middle of me driving just stopped working. I went to tap my brakes, and it just went right to the floor as if I was pressing the gas pedal. How I'm still alive, I don't know. I wish I would have known about Higher Automotive at the time, but I didn't.
Could have just happened once instead of twice.
Exactly. 989-837-6125. Who's the most important piece to this Pistons offseason? That's next here when we come back. It's the Ben Bosscher Show live on 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
It's time to remember that. With Kyle Sandell.
Presented by Matt Larson, Farm Bureau Agent, located downtown Midland. We got big news in the WNBA yesterday. 5 new teams are going to be added to the W by 2030. And one of them, yes, Detroit is getting a team back in 2029, as well as Philadelphia. Cleveland's getting one in 2028. And then Toronto and Portland are adding teams by 2030. This is super cool because we all remember in the mid-2000s when the Detroit Shock were around. They won a championship. Bill Laimbeer, the coach. Jaden Ivey, who's a current Detroit Piston, his mom played for the Detroit Shock. And this is just a really crucial thing for Tom Gores to get involved in, and we got to give him props once again. In the WNBA that is currently growing faster than any other sport in America and probably in the world, with all of these young players that have come in from women's college basketball and turned up this league, gaining popularity by a crazy amount. And now we're finally going to have a team likely playing in Little Caesars Arena. And who knows, you draft one of these big-time stars out of college. Next thing you know, there's sellout crowds at LCA when you see players like Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers come. Either way, this is a major W for the city of Detroit, for the game of basketball, and all parties involved. A big shout out to Tom Gores for getting out in front of this. And hopefully they go back to the Detroit Shock, because that was always a super cool name. WNBA returning to Detroit in 2029. Remember that. Presented by Matt Larson, Farm Bureau Agent, located downtown Midland.
Celebrate 4th of July with the Great Lakes Loons. Join us for our block party on Main, presented by the Michigan Army National Guard. Celebrate America's independence with face painting, balloon animals, the inflatable zone on the front lawn, and of course, America's pastime. The evening wraps up with a spectacular fireworks loontacular, presented by Farm Bureau Insurance. For tickets, visit loons.com. This isn't just baseball. It's the Great Lakes Loons, everyone's hometown team. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman Night at Dow Diamond on Saturday, July 12th. The first 1,000 fans through the gates will receive an exclusive Super Lou E bobblehead courtesy of My Michigan Health. Create a lasting memory after the game as you take in Fireworks Loontacular, presented by Farm Bureau Insurance. Don't miss this super night of fun. Get your tickets at loons.com.
I'm Ben Bosscher, and here's what I think. I think replay should be taken out of basketball entirely. I think 2 super conferences would fix college football. I think the best football, basketball, and baseball players of all time are currently playing. I think the day the Lions win the Super Bowl is going to be the greatest day of my life. I think Monty Williams sabotaged the Pistons on purpose, and you can't convince me otherwise. I think Jim Harbaugh is one of the best coaches of all time, but most definitely cheated, got caught, and ran away. And I think you should tune into the Ben Bosscher Show, fueled by Forward Energy, weekdays 9 to noon on 100.9 The Mitt if you agree with anything I just said.
We're in your town, your school, your huddle. 100.9 The Mitt is here for sports fans in the Great Lakes Bay region. From the hardwoods of Saginaw to Midland's Friday Night Lights. From the streets of Bay City to Freeland, Frankenmuth, and Hemlock. We roll through Beaverton, Auburn, Pinconning, Essexville, and Shepherd. All the way to Gladwin, Birch Run, Coleman, and Bridgeport. This is your sports station. High school, college, NFL, the Looms. It's all right here. 100.9 The Mitt, Mid-Michigan sports leader. You want sports takes? You want local voices that own the mic? Yeah. We've got them on Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt. It kicks off at 6 a.m. with Anthony Bellino on Spin on Sports.
Rise and shine.
From 9 to noon, don't miss Michigan's newest sports show, The Ben Bosscher Show.
Hey, remember that.
At noon, you get America's smartest sports takes, The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
I want Shador to play.
And at 3, the one and only Bill Simonson and The Huge Show. This is where real fans stay locked in. 100.9 The Mitt.
All right, folks, let's get started. Parents, thanks for coming. As many of you know, I'm Coach Mather. Tonight I want to talk about the season, of which I only have one expectation, that everybody gets stronger. When I say get stronger, I'm not referring solely to physical strength. Sure, we'll be in the weight room, we'll be running stairs, but we're also going to focus on developing mental toughness and grit, because those are the characteristics that allow us to achieve greatness both on and off the court. So, how do we develop those things? By getting comfortable with a challenge, by cultivating the confidence necessary to overcome adversity in all forms. That's why I coach. That's my purpose. Every member of this team can lean on me, and I'll teach them how they can lean on themselves and each other.
This message presented by the MHSAA and the Michigan Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
All right, one more time, thanks to Chris Castellani for stopping by. If you guys missed out on that segment, pretty soon just search the Ben Bosscher Show. Wherever you get your podcasts, you'll be able to listen to that back. That'll be uploaded right after noon. Or, I mean, you could just go to YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button, and rewind it and listen to the whole thing, because YouTube allows you to do that. All right, with that being said, we've been talking free agency, both Red Wings and Pistons, throughout today's show. And I think the most interesting part of the Pistons offseason is the fact that they are, and we kind of knew this, and I definitely supported it. They know the most important pieces for them are internal development. Now, that doesn't mean you can just ignore surrounding talent, like your role players. And I think the Pistons are a prime example of that the past couple of seasons, when Trajan Langdon's taken over and surrounded Cade and Ausar and Duren with the likes of Beasley and Dennis Schroeder and Tim Hardaway Jr., the Pistons had success. The year before that, even though you still had Cade and Ivey in this young core, you didn't have success because your role players around them were terrible guys like Alec Burks and James Wiseman and all these doofuses that Troy Weaver brought in. And so far this offseason, the Pistons they're going to lose out on Dennis Schroeder. Malik Beasley doesn't seem like he's coming back because he's got the feds down his throat. And Tim Hardaway Jr. remains a mystery, and the only person they've brought in the building is Caris LeVert. Somewhat concerning. I'm not saying the Pistons are going to fall off a cliff, but let's just face it, both in terms of volume and quality, the Pistons have downgraded their role players and veterans on this team. But at the end of the day, the fundamental principle of whether or not this team is going to evolve comes down to whether or not their role players their core players evolve. And bringing in role players certainly helps that out. But I mostly look at this as which one of these guys is going to step up and establish themselves as the next guy next to Cade. Is it going to be Ivey? Is it going to be Ausar? Is it going to be Duren? Who's the most important aspect of this Pistons team this offseason? I think they're treating the addition of Ivey as their big offseason move, and that gets me a little bit excited, but I want to be realistic when it comes to our expectations with Ivey. I think at the end of the day, he's more suited long-term in the NBA to be someone who is either a number 2 option in terms of the backcourt, which is the situation he finds himself in right now with Cade as the first guy, or someone who kind of just comes off the bench. Basically Dennis Schroeder's role last season. Now, you can't play Dennis Schroeder and Jaden Ivey together. Too small of a backcourt, too bad defensively. It's the reason I don't want to bring Duncan Robinson into the mix because, well, while he's a lights-out shooter and can help space out the floor, him and Ivey just simply would not be able to play together. Too bad defensively of a backcourt. I tend to more so think Ausar Thompson is the key person for the Pistons' development this offseason. And just going forward. You look at what Houston's doing. They're building their team's identity, not necessarily the best player, but their team's identity is built around his twin brother, Amen Thompson. Yeah, they bring in Kevin Durant. He'll be the all-time lead, the scorer for that team, the leading scorer for that team. But it's going to be built around Amen's ability to be a Defense Player of the Year candidate, harass the other team's best ball handler, push the ball in transition, stack up rebounds, stack up assists, however many points he averages. Doesn't really matter. I think their identity is built around Amen Thompson. I don't think the Pistons are going to go quite far that into building around Ausar Thompson, but whether or not he can kind of step up and be the, holy cow, this guy is a freak and we kind of have to deal with him. I know he's not necessarily the most lights-out shooter, which maybe that never changes, but if he can turn himself into a weapon in transition and someone who's just a connector for everyone around him, and Ivey also can take that step up, so 40% shooter before he got hurt from outside this past season. If both those things happen, all of a sudden the Pistons should be smooth sailing if they can add one more free agent here. And that one more free agent to me is definitely Malik Monk, who they'd have to sign and trade Dennis Schroeder with. If they can land Malik Monk, former Sixth Man of the Year, and both those things happen, I don't know what the ceiling for this team is, to be honest, Kyle. But I do think Ausar's development is more important than anything else. But right now it is free agency, so it's like maybe the priority right now should be Malik Monk getting in the building. Like, and then I'll here. Malik Monk has to be a Piston by the end of free agency for me to consider it a success at this point. It's been teased. It's been teased in front of us now. Now it's been leaked, and everyone knows it. Malik Monk has to be a Piston.
We're getting our hopes up at this point.
Yes. It'd be a major disappointment if he was not. If Caris LeVert's their biggest addition, the team got worse.
The amount of times I swiped down on Twitter last night to refresh the page, waiting for something to happen, is kind of sad. And nothing ever happened. But as far as the development thing goes, Ausar Thompson unlocks much more for the Pistons long term, right? You really do view him as probably the second best guy on this team, hopefully, as far as what his ceiling is. But when you think about what the Pistons are losing this offseason, the two big things they're losing are guard play and three-point shooting. Who's one guy that potentially could bring both of those with a big-time resurgence of a season? Exactly. Jaden Ivey can really, obviously he's not going to hit 300 threes like Malik Beasley did. But man, he was a good three-point shooter last year prior to getting injured. And he can bring that guard play that they're losing in Dennis Schroeder. And obviously Malik Beasley brings a little bit of that as well. So Ivey brings what they're missing and what they're losing a lot back this season. But Ausar's ceiling unlocks much more for them long term.
What's the biggest part of Ivey's game that concerns you? Because I think I'm confident in his ability to get to the cup, put the ball in the hoop there. I like his ability to shoot from the outside. Whether or not he can create his own shot off the dribble, I think remains to be a question. And whether or not he can be an above-average facilitator, I think remains a question.
Sounds like you got a lot of questions.
I do, especially coming back from injury.
Look, to me, it's the one that you actually didn't bring up. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Well, you did bring it up, but you said it's a positive. For his ability to get to the rim, as good as he is at it, he needs to finish at the rim.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is a below average finisher at the cup, and that's his biggest strength, is getting there. That, to me, is the biggest concern.
The biggest concern for me is playing 5-on-5, if that makes sense, rather than I like my
playing
matchup.
A basketball game. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. But, I mean, you see a lot of guys in the league like this that are much better suited one-on-one. Like, you know who comes to mind with this? Like, guys like Lou Williams, guys like Jordan Clarkson, guys that in an ideal world just come off the bench, and as a bench guy, their coach basically says, go get us buckets. You're going to play
go light it up.
15 minutes a game, 20 minutes a game, and while you're out there, you take as many shots as you want. Those are like the one-on-one players I'm talking about compared to the 5-on-5 guys who know how to fit a role. Which lane Jaden Ivey kind of fits into? Because I don't think Jaden Ivey's good enough to just be a one-on-one player all game. Obviously, there's only so many guys that are. But whether or not he's more suitable in a 5-on-5 situation where, hey, you have this one strength, this is how you help the team, I almost wonder if this is he should play less minutes, but just give him the keys to the car while he's out there situation. But Cade's a good enough defender, luckily, for them to be able to play together. That's the good part about it. We're going to continue this Pistons conversation because we're waiting for some more news on them in the 11 o'clock hour. It is the Ben Bosscher Show, live on 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
Looking for the perfect golf getaway? Tee up at Sandy Ridge Golf Course, Midland's hidden gem. Whether you're a scratch golfer or just out for fun, Sandy Ridge offers a beautifully maintained 18-hole course, friendly staff, and unbeatable rates, plus a brand new clubhouse. Book your tee time today at sandyridgegolfcourse.com or call 989-631-6010. Sandy Ridge Golf Course, where great golf meets pure Michigan beauty.
Since 2007, the Michigan Baseball Foundation has invested over $1.8 million into our communities, supporting over 350 projects across 14 Michigan counties. From restoring Alma Little League fields to creating nature-based classrooms at the Chippewa Nature Center and enhancing accessibility at the middle of the Mitt Miracle Field, MBF is making a real difference. Every ticket to a Great Lakes Loons game helps fund these initiatives. Join us in building a stronger, more vibrant community. Learn more at MichiganBaseballFoundation.org.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman Night at Dow Diamond on Saturday, July 12th. The first 1,000 fans through the gates will receive an exclusive Super Lou E bobblehead courtesy of My Michigan Health. Create a lasting memory after the game as you take in Fireworks Loontacular, presented by Farm Bureau Insurance. Don't miss this super night of fun. Get your tickets at loons.com. Local sports don't stop when the game ends, and neither do we. 100.9 The Mitt is your digital home for the latest news across the state of Michigan. From high school to college and the pros, it's all on our socials. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search 100.9 The Mitt and join the squad. Stay locked in on the latest stats and stories with exclusive video takes from local talent. Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt. From Midland to Bay City, Saginaw to Sanford, from Frankenmuth, Freeland, and Hemlock to Auburn, Essexville, and Pinconning, 100.9 The Mitt is the heartbeat of the Great Lakes Bay region, and proud of it. We're your home for local sports, local stories, and local pride. Whether you're in Birch Run, Beaverton, Gladwin, Chesaning, or Coleman, football, basketball, hockey, Spartans, NFL, Loons, all right here. 100.9 The Mitt, Mid-Michigan's sports leader.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
From the Blazy Electric Studios, this is Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt, WLUN, Pinconning, Bay City, Saginaw, Midland.
Hour number 3, well on its way. Actually, that's a lie. Just getting started. Ben Bosscher Show live on 100.9 The Mitt, live on YouTube as well. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Wow, the chat's been active today. I'm just looking at this for the first time. Appreciate everyone in that YouTube. You guys have been fantastic. Appreciate everyone here in the Great Lakes Bay region. This has been a day of free agency. In 1 hour, NHL free agency opens up. And Steve Yzerman and the Red Wings have cleared up some cap space, traded away Tarasenko to Minnesota in order to, we hope, make a big move here because time is running out for Mr. Yzerman. Time is running out for Mr. Yzerman because it's been 9 years since the Red Wings have made the playoffs, tied for the 4th longest drought in all of pro sports. And it's been 7 years for him. He's heading into year number 7. There is not enough time to dilly-dally around anymore if you're Steve Yzerman. You have to put your chips in the middle of the table at some point. And that some point is this offseason. So at noon, I will be anticipating some moves for the Wings. As for the Pistons, free agency has been open since 6 o'clock yesterday. And, one thing that Kyle and I really haven't talked about today is it's been brought up a couple of times, but how much of a wrench Malik Beasley threw into this entire situation. This isn't just, hey, Malik Beasley is being investigated not only by the NBA but by the feds for this gambling thing, which there was movement on the under for his rebounds like 2 years ago, and he ended up getting 6 rebounds in a game. Something weird back 2 seasons ago.
Wasn't even a Piston.
Yeah, wasn't a Piston. So fine. The problem is the ripple effect it's having on the Pistons right now. Because not only are you potentially getting suspended if you're Malik Beasley, or maybe banished from the league, which I'm not opposed to if this ends up being if he gets found guilty of it, you got to get rid of this stuff. But it's screwing over the Pistons because they kind of anticipated re-signing this guy, and then 12 hours, 24 hours-ish before free agency opens up, we get the news bomb that all this stuff has been going down, and the Pistons have to, in 24 hours, throw their plan out the window and draft up a new plan. And that one plan has led to Caris LeVert becoming a Piston, which, again, I do not like. This is a guy who has been traded 4 times in his career. One of those times was before he had ever even played an NBA game. Team that drafted him was like, no, we're all set. We don't really like this guy. Then he's been traded 3 times since. No team that ends up with Caris LeVert wants to keep him around. And even Atlanta, where he ended his season last year, just let him walk in free agency. Goodbye. We would not like you back. Does that not raise red flags for anybody else? Is anyone else not concerned with that aspect of it? That every team he's played for, no one wants him back?
I do think that it's a little circumstantial, right? He's always making that perfect amount of money where a team that is looking to upgrade his spot, like last year, the Cavs, they traded Caris LeVert plus George Niang to get DeAndre Hunter, who was making more money, and it was an upgrade. I do think it's pretty circumstantial. I'm not defending Caris LeVert that he's some excellent player, because at the end of the day, he's getting traded to be upgraded for. But the time he was in Cleveland, they acquired him because he was an upgrade to their bench. He was their 6th man. It was a good get for them to go get Caris LeVert. So, I don't know. I think that him being traded 4 times, whatever, is not that big of a deal. A lot of guys have been traded. Dennis Schroeder is playing for his 10th NBA team if he goes to the Kings.
Yeah. That's fair.
We would have loved to brought him back.
I'm looking at the YouTube chat right now. Logan said, just going to skip over how Steve Yzerman's been awesome this offseason. No. Maybe tune in for the whole show, Logan.
Yeah,
that sounded really aggressive. We know, Logan. That's why that was so aggressive. We've been hyping up Steve Yzerman throughout the show because for once it feels like they are ready to push their chips to the middle of the table, and I like the value of the deal that they used to get John Gibson in the building, because it's been a carousel at the goalie position for more than a half decade at this point. Now they finally have some stability in net. At least you hope so. It's a guy who only played in 29 games last season, but has the pedigree, 3-time All-Star, someone you can bring in and hope to be that number 1 goalie for you this season. I like that they're pushing their chips into the middle of the table, but it's also overdue. I like that they moved off from Tarasenko and cleared up some cap space, but we also saw them do this last year when they attached a 2nd-round pick to do it with Jake Wallman, and then Jake Wallman gets flipped for a 1st-round pick and then ends up helping out a team in the Stanley Cup Finals. They have to actually do something here at noon to justify clearing the cap space for Tarasenko, who I'm glad is no longer on the team. Aging veteran with some red flags when they signed him last season based on how he played 2 years ago and what was going to happen. Ultimately ends up being disappointing. But at the same time, they have to make a move to justify it. right? There's no point in clearing up cap space if you're not going to do it with a purpose. And that's why Steve Yzerman has a lot of pressure mounted up on him right now as the Red Wings GM. But if we're circling it back to the Pistons, while there's no real pressure on Trajan Langdon, I almost wonder if that is a bad thing, because there is zero, it's polar opposite situations. Steve Yzerman has a tremendous amount of pressure on him. Year 7, it's been 9 years since the Wings have been in the playoffs. There's urgency. With Trajan Langdon, I almost wish there was a little more sense of urgency. Not because he's in year 2 and I think the Pistons can win a championship, but you also look around the Eastern Conference and there's just not a lot of teams to really fear, I would say. It's somewhat similar to the American League and the Tigers in the conversation we were having basically in May, where it's like, look around. There's not a juggernaut of a team here. The Yankees are not as good as a team as they were last year when they had Soto. So, go make your team better. I somewhat feel that way about the Pistons, but I'm also I'm not going to say how I think Trajan Langdon should operate and change my viewpoint on that just based on some of the other teams in the Eastern Conference, because we've already seen some teams like Atlanta and like Orlando react to the injuries in a way where they're getting ultra aggressive here, and I almost wonder if it's a little bit too early, because
Atlanta, yes,
as we've brought up, I no longer think this is a superstar league. This is a league that comes down to roster construction under the new collective bargaining agreement. I think GMs matter more than they ever have. I think finding an identity and building a depth, roster depth is more important than it ever has been. And having the star just doesn't cut it as much as it used to anymore in today's NBA. Now, luckily, the Pistons have the star in Cade. They've got the depth pieces and the role guys. It's just a matter of retaining them and bringing in veterans to surround the team with. And so far, they've lost out on Schroeder. They're going to. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a question mark, and Malik Beasley might never play another NBA game again. And all they've done is bring in Caris LeVert.
The Beasley stuff is so super interesting because there's a world where Terry Rozier, who was being investigated, similar stuff to this a season ago, just got basically freed of everything yesterday, which is also just crazy timing because of the Malik Beasley stuff.
Right.
Now, he was never charged with anything. This was the same exact situation. There was a sketchy line, a bunch of money put on one of his weird over-unders, and so they launched an investigation. The difference is Terry Rozier was under contract during the season, playing through all of this. So it didn't affect his future contract situation. He didn't have to sit out games. He didn't get suspended, none of that stuff. For Beasley, this happens when he literally isn't on a team.
Mm-hmm. And no one's going to sign him.
It affects his market. It affects the market in general, right? Because he was a guy that was going to be one of the more higher paid free agents that actually hit the market. And it affects the Pistons most, because if this doesn't happen, Caris LeVert's not on the Pistons right now. I 100% believe that.
I agree with that too.
There's a world where Beasley gets out of this, and it's like, well, now you're just still a free agent, and maybe just come back to the Pistons for cheap. That's like best case scenario. Well, the odds of that actually happening, I don't know.
It's not zero, because if this thing, it's not like this is going to be wrapped up in the next couple days.
Exactly.
And by the time this gets cleared up, which who knows, could be a month from now, could be 6 months from now, could be more. Look, I seriously doubt any team's going to sign him when there's an FBI investigation currently happening. That's the weird part about this one. I don't remember the feds being involved in the Terry Rozier thing, right? Maybe I'm wrong.
That was just an investigation from the NBA, I believe.
Yeah, this one has the federal government involved, which is definitely concerning.
We got a little bit of breaking news, not Pistons breaking news.
Oh,
but this is definitely worth talking about.
Okay.
Miles Turner's leaving the Pacers to the Bucks.
Oh.
Whoa. 4-year, $107 million deal with the Bucks. Wow, so the Pacers' Halliburton injury has just shifted their entire outlook. They were going to pay the tax. They were going to pay and go to the second apron to bring back Miles Turner, and now they're not.
Wow. So they let Brook Lopez walk, an aging guy, and then Miles Turner is, wow. So, okay, their front court is Miles Turner, Bobby Portis, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Maybe they were right to not trade Giannis. I mean, their guards are still horrendous, but that is
where did they get the money
that's a legitimate
to do this?
front line. I don't know where they got the money to do. Well, how much money was Brook Lopez making last year? Because I know he got signed for basically nothing. It was 2 years, $16 million.
He was making just shy of $20 million, I believe.
And a year. And then what did you say the Miles Turner
4 for 107, so it's over 25 a year. I just don't understand because the Pacers had talked about they were going to give him 30 M's a year to bring him back. Obviously, they just went to the finals. But I guess with Tyrese Halliburton getting injured, they don't want to pay the tax.
That is an elite Brook Lopez replacement. That's a guy who can let it rip from outside. You obviously want any 5-man playing with Giannis to be able to do that. Brook Lopez kind of faded off in terms of athleticism and defense. Miles Turner, you can just kind of throw right into the mix. And he's regressed defensively, but Giannis is there, which just covers up a lot of other issues.
Miles Turner was one of the longest tenured players in the NBA.
10 full seasons. 10 full seasons in Indiana, and he's been on the trade block for 7 of those.
This goes to show, he has, how the new collective bargaining agreement with the first and second apron affect the NBA. Because of one injury, they decided to not bring him back, even though they went to the finals last year.
Yeah, you've got some guys agreeing with you in the chat. Halliburton injury had to change the Pacers' mindset. That was from Carson. Yeah, man.
Crazy, man.
That's a unexpected trade. I don't know if it's like blowing everyone's mind.
And that
but
was a guy that
definitely
Pistons fans were talking about prior to the Pacers going to the finals because it didn't seem like he was going to be available.
Now, every move that gets made that's not Malik Monk coming to the Pistons, I'm just becoming more angry. I'm just getting more angry, I guess. I'm trying to control that anger, but
and that's such a weird situation because Schroeder is essentially on the Kings already. There just isn't the details of how he's there yet.
Yeah, because I don't think it's going to have to be a sign-in trade. Malik Monk becoming a Piston is how this becomes a success. Because right now, Caris LeVert being a Piston, I'm sorry, I'm not going to lie to the audience. I'm just not going to sit here and tell you the Pistons are a better team. They're not. Their role players took a significant hit. And why did the Pistons struggle? Why did the Pistons struggle for the first few years with Cade? Because the role players all sucked. I'm not a big Caris LeVert guy. I think he's not really with the agenda of team basketball, like moving the ball around, selfless offense, always hunting the open shot. He gets the ball and he's like, hey, everybody, watch this. Not my type of ball. 989-837-6125. We'll keep the free agency conversations rolling. When we come back, it's the Ben Bosscher Show on 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
Last week, the Loons were in Fort Wayne, Indiana, taking on the Tin Caps. And the long ball was flying out of Parkview Field. The Loons hit 6 home runs in 6 games, including a spectacular Sunday performance from Frank Rodriguez. Had a 5-ribby 3-hit game, including a grand slam in the 8th. 2-1. Rodriguez swings. Hard hit to deep left. Campbell gives it a look, but that is out of here. Grand slam for Efrod. Man, oh man. Demolished 406. 105 off the bat. And he has made the most of his opportunities here this year in the Midwest League. That cushion completely deflated. Tuesday night, it's Loons and Whitecaps in Comstock Park, Michigan. Join us at 6:20 p.m.
Wackadoo! Bluey and her little sister Bingo are joining the Great Lakes Loons again this summer for Red, White, and Bluey Weekend presented by My Michigan How. It's 2 games of fun, laughter, and memories with our favorite Blue healer. Whether it's Saturday night or Sunday afternoon, don't miss out. For tickets, visit loons.com. This is the Great Lakes Loons, everyone's hometown team. From Midland to Bay City, Saginaw to Sanford, from Frankenmuth, Freeland, and Hemlock to Auburn, Essexville, and Pinconning, 100.9 The Mitt is the heartbeat of the Great Lakes Bay region, and proud of it. We're your home for local sports, local stories, and local pride. Whether you're in Birch Run, Beaverton, Gladwin, Chesaning, or Coleman, football, basketball, hockey, Spartans, NFL, Loons, all right here. 100.9 The Mitt, Mid-Michigan's sports leader.
Bel Air Brown, Dragon's Milk, Mad Hatter, Purple Gang, and Huma Loopalicious. These are names that let the imagination run wild and let the taste buds take a stroll. Welcome to the craft beer craze in Michigan. Bolstered by the Great Lakes and nurtured by the glacier-rich soil, here awaits a brewer's paradise. With fresh hops growing tall in the Old Mission Peninsula and fresh barley fields sweeping the mitten. Michigan ranks 5th in the nation in the number of breweries, microbreweries, and brew pubs. From Good Harbor Golden to Whitefish Bay Wheat. From Motown Lager all the way to Park Bench Porter, Michigan is serving up a frosty glass of perfection. Whether you want to take in a game with a two-hearted ale or just sit on a front porch sipping a Steelhead Red, let's tap into life at its fullest and treat ourselves to a taste that's pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
This is fitting. This is calming music. I need to calm down.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get calm. Need some Metallica rejoinder right now.
Well, Trajan's got to do something, man. I'm getting a little bit impatient. Look, I think the goal is to be patient here, not just in terms of free agency like 2025, but what the Pistons are building. Trajan has done a good job of being patient, and just because Cade's now entering year 5, I don't think means the Pistons need to rush into things the way that feels like Atlanta has, feels like Orlando has, by giving up a ton of first-round capital to acquire talent because they look around the Eastern Conference and see they smell blood in the water because there's no dominant team going into the year. Boston doesn't have their best player in Tatum. The Bucks are missing their second-best player in Damian Lillard. The Cavs are supposed to be the scary team. We just saw them get their butts kicked in a playoff series. So while all these other teams are being over-aggressive, Trajan Langdon is being patient. And I think that's ultimately a good thing. But with that being said, just in terms of free agency, I need something to happen here. I need Malik Monk to be a Piston by the end of the day. Or else, guess what we're going to be talking about tomorrow? Why Malik Monk is not a Detroit Piston. I'm not getting impatient.
Okay,
but
man,
we got to do something.
This Milwaukee Bucks thing is getting extended here.
What is going on?
The Bucks are waiving Damian Lillard and stretching the rest of his deal.
No, they're not.
That's where the money's coming from.
What?
This just in. Shams just tweets. This just in. The Milwaukee Bucks are waiving Damian Lillard and stretching the remaining $113 million on his contract in order to acquire Miles Turner.
All right, that's insane. Can I drop something even more just like stupidly insane? What's going on in the last 24 hours with just teams doing crazy things? Guess what? You know how the Dolphins traded Jonnu Smith yesterday? They just got a new tight end. Darren Waller is back in the NFL. He's recovered from his off-the-field issues and is now a Miami Dolphin. What's going on? And the Giants had to trade him even though he was retired? What is happening?
Honestly, I don't even know what this Darren Waller stuff.
Okay.
Dame is getting cut. $113 million left on the deal.
I'm trying to rationalize why Milwaukee would do this.
Okay, so
what is the incentive for Milwaukee
so they can get Miles Turner? Because this is what you and me talked about during the break. It made no sense money-wise how they just got Miles Turner. That's why I kept saying Kuzma's in the deal, right? This makes more sense. They're waiving and stretching Lillard, so they're probably not paying him anything next year, and then the following years, they'll pay off the rest of this deal. This is going to be a Bobby Bonilla type thing, which is hilarious because today is Bobby Bonilla Day.
Happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
Wow. So they're going at this is all it this year.
So
they think Dame is going to be that poor in 2 years. Because Damian Lillard is injured. Torn Achilles for people that don't know.
Is he confirmed not playing this season?
I mean, he tore his Achilles
obviously
in the
to open up the season. Yeah.
I would assume he's out for the whole year. A plus 30-year-old.
So he's just off a team this season.
He's just off a team. I mean, someone could sign him right now, but why would he do it now?
Why would the team do it now? What is happening?
Because you could probably get him on the minimum because he's going to be getting paid a bag by Milwaukee. What is going on?
This league is something else, man. And Trajan Langdon is just not joining in on the fun right now. There's so much fun happening around the league. Everybody's getting shams bombs left and right.
Waller, bro? What?
Everybody's getting shams bombs, Haynes bombs,
so
Ian Rappaport bombs.
Here.
What can the Pistons do something? Something. Give us something. That's not Caris LeVert, because I can't. If I keep talking about Caris LeVert, I'm going to get angry, and it's not even noon yet. There's no need to be
Lillard
angry.
will be stretched across the next 5 seasons, so they'll pay him out the remaining $113 million across the next 5 years.
Is it crazy to say he never plays again? He's just like, cool, I'm just going to spend time with my family and my kids.
Obviously, he will play again. He's not like He was still really good last year prior to getting hurt. He was.
He's a small guard coming back from a torn Achilles. He's not going to be.
So
as
is
good as he
Kyrie
was.
Irving. Is he going to retire? No.
But Kyrie Irving doesn't have guaranteed money for the next 5 seasons because of this.
He literally just got paid like a 4-year extension.
But he's on a team. He's on a contract. Damian Lillard's not anymore. This league continues to blow my mind on a daily basis in the offseason.
This is crazy.
The season that the league that never sleeps.
So it's essentially like $24 million a year they'll be paying Damian Lillard over the next 5 years if they do it consistently year by year. Odds
on
that Giannis
Bobby
is on the
Bouye
Bucks
day is crazy.
Yes.
On the day is crazy.
Odds that Giannis is on the Bucks in 5 years.
Slim.
Like plus 1,000?
I don't
and
know.
They'll still be paying Dame?
If he's on the Bucks in 5 years, he's just definitely playing the rest of his career there.
Well, of course.
You know what I mean?
This to me is a plea that Giannis, we are winning with you now. We are getting rid of our second best player just because he's out for all next year. Look
at their guards.
This is Giannis putting pressure on the Bucks to an all-time high.
Can't wait for him to just leave, go to New York.
There's no way they wanted to do this.
How much of an L is this Drew Holiday trade now in hindsight?
Oh.
Looking back at
Drew Holiday
disaster.
Yeah. Went and won a title with Boston. One of their arch rivals.
Look, man, I guess
this is crazy, man.
To bring this back to Detroit, I want the Pistons to jump in on the fun here. Let's start making some moves. Come on, Trajan. Look, I'm all down for being patient, but it's time to make one of these moves. And if Malik Monk ends up on a different team other than Detroit, we're gonna have some issues here with Langdon. And again, Langdon literally batted 1,000 in his first season with Detroit. There's not one move you can point to that's like, why'd you do that? That didn't work out. Everything he touched just worked out in favor of the Pistons. Whether it was signing Beasley, whether it was signing Hardaway, whether it was trading for Dennis Schroeder for nothing and just landing him for free. All this stuff worked out. So he was never going to bat 1,000 forever. It's similar to Brad Holmes. Just great GM, not perfect. There's definitely some moves you can point to that stunk, but the good outweighs the bad. And I think the same thing about Trajan Langdon. But the more moves he makes, the more likely he is to screw up. I don't think he is quite screwed up yet. His back just got pinned against the wall with the Malik Beasley situation that went down in terms of the gambling thing, him being investigated, not really able to sign a new contract with any team right now. They had to pivot. I don't know if it's a panic move, but they definitely went towards a backup plan in Caris LeVert. I don't love the backup plan. If they're able to get Malik Monk in the building, all right, then the backup plan is somewhat saved. But this has to go through at some point. It's ideally, theoretically, Dennis Schroeder signs with the Pistons, gets traded immediately to Sacramento. Sacramento sends Malik Monk back in return. Because that's someone, stretch the floor, lights out behind the arc, can get to the cup, dunk on a few guys throughout the season. That's someone who legitimately provides a scoring spark off the bench. And someone who I think fits really well next to Cade if you want to start him. If Ivey ends up coming off the bench, which I'm not in favor for, but I think it's a possibility by the end of the season just based on fit. Can Monk and Ivey play together? I think would remain a question. I think yes for now, but Monk's not
willing
really
to take the risk.
Yeah, you're going to have to find out eventually. But if they have to resort to like a Duncan Robinson, that's where things become problematic to me, because if you're investing
getting all the Michigan guys, huh?
If you're investing in Ivey, you can't play Duncan and Ivey together. Monk you can at least like experiment with. It might not be a total disaster defensively, but Ivey and Duncan Robinson, disaster. You can't roll that out there. 989-837-6125. Crazy day in the news. We'll hit that when we come back. It's the Ben Bosscher Show on 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
I'm Sarah Stockford, host of 100.9 The Mitt Success Suite, a podcast highlighting the most inspiring female leaders across the Great Lakes Bay region. This month, we spoke with Mary Draves, former Dow executive and leader in the Midland community.
I think as we get a little bit older, we start to care less about what other people think.
That's a great point, yeah.
And so as I've gotten older, I think I've become way more comfortable in who I am and what I stand for. And, when you get to that point, all of a sudden, you become less apologetic about who you are. You also, you're like, hey, this is me, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
And I think in my 20s versus maybe I'm in my 50s now, it's a very different person. And that's just really part of the continuum of growth.
Listen to the full interview with Mary on 100.9 The Mitt's YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification button to be alerted when new episodes drop. That's Success Suite with Sarah Stockford.
Hey everyone, Brad Tunney here with The Mitt. And I want to talk to you about my friends over at Maple Hill Nursery, one of the great local family-owned businesses in our region for over 40 years. Now, their specialty is in landscaping with expertise and high-quality trees, plants, and shrubs. They're also a full stocking dealer of Dairy Dew, and they've got polywood furniture. Now, I've got it all over my backyard. It's maintenance-free and long-lasting and comes in 18 different colors. Stop by Maple Hill Nursery, just 2.5 miles north of the Midland Mall on Eastman.
Get ready, Michigan. Field of Frames Fest presented by Dow is taking over Dow Diamond September 26th through 28th. It's the ultimate celebration of gaming, esports, and community, bringing together fans, families, players, and industry pros for a 3-day festival like no other. Watch elite teams battle in high-stakes competition, the Valorant Collegiate Invitational and Rocket League Semi-Pro Showdown, each with $10,000 prize pools, a $5,000 Super Smash Bros. Open Tournament, and a 17U Fortnite Youth Tournament with $1,000 up for grabs. There's live music, entertainment, and activities for all ages, plus educational panels and hands-on workshops for those interested in tech, business, and gaming industries. Tickets start at just $25, and kids 10 and under get in free. Don't miss your chance to be part of a landmark event. Visit fieldofframesfest.com to grab your tickets today. Field of Frames. Experience the element of gaming.
Wackadoo! Bluey and her little sister Bingo are joining the Great Lakes Loons again this summer for Red, White, and Bluey Weekend presented by My Michigan How. It's 2 games of fun, laughter, and memories with our favorite Blue Healer. Whether it's Saturday night or Sunday afternoon, don't miss out. For tickets, visit loons.com. This is the Great Lakes Loons, everyone's hometown team. Scrolling? Make it count. Want local sports content that actually matters? Yeah. 100.9 The Mitt is loaded with local highlights, viral plays, breaking sports news, and takes you can't get enough of.
It's hot!
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube today, and you'll never be out of the loop on the Lions, Tigers, Pistons, Red Wings, Michigan State, and even the biggest stories in high school sports in the Great Lakes Bay region. 100.9 The Mitt, Mid-Michigan's sports leader.
Timeout.
All right. Remember, we're a team that plays together. Listen, the winning will take care of itself. We just have to get everyone involved.
In interscholastic sports, we celebrate what makes every one of us unique. And in the pursuit of a common goal, everyone in the huddle, in the bleachers, and in the community comes together. This message presented by the MHSAA and the Michigan Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
Oh, the last 48 hours in terms of trades and news and free agency has been stupefying, to be honest. So let's just do the news. Let's just do it.
The Mitt's Morning Catch.
Sorry, I'm just still flustered over here, man. Just a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
We have some more breaking
think...
Tigers news.
Oh, okay, let's do that.
That's getting thrown into this. It's kind of news that we expected, though. Kerry Carpenter is being put on the 10-day injured list. Hands up in the air for Ben if you're not watching.
That might be the first time I've ever been happy someone went on IL. Get this man healthy. Put him in a hyperbolic chamber. Let that hamstring get back to 100%. We'll see you after, would you say 10-day or 15-day?
10-day.
We'll see you in 10 days, minimum. Sorry, it'd be great to have you against Cleveland because I cannot stand losing to Cleveland. The fact that they lost 3 games in a row to them earlier this year, that was the most pissed off I've been as a Tigers fan this year. But they need to just make that guy get back to 100%. It's been a lingering issue for 3 weeks now. It was a lingering issue back in the playoffs. We had the scare when he was rounding the bases that he tweaked his hamstring, and it's just been a looming thing for a long time. Let his hamstring get back to 100%, man. That might be the only time I'm ever going to celebrate someone going on IL.
I agree. The more surprising part of this is it's not Justin Henry Malloy getting called up. It's Trey Sweeney. Right back. Kind of surprising. I figured they would want to bring the outfielder, but I guess they prioritize the lefty instead of bringing the outfielder.
They have the flexibility because Vierling can play outfield, McKinstry can play outfield, and then you have those 2 guys that can play their respective infield positions too, in shortstop and third base. So, I mean, if Sweeney's going to be up, he's
Malloy's
probably
been
playing.
good, though, since he's been in Toledo. I feel like he kind of deserves it, but whatever.
Man, no Carey.
And Jahmai Jones.
Interesting.
But no, it sucks that this happened to Carey now, though, because he goes homer triple the other day. Seemed like a good bounce back game
after ending a crazy slump. But that's why they pulled him from the game because
because the hamstring he tweaked it.
So what? In the last calendar year, he's tweaked that hamstring 3 times now.
Yeah,
the same hamstring. Just let that guy heal up. Yeah, let him heal up. That's what I have to say.
So we had a bunch of breaking news happen in the previous segment. Let's actually get the details on the one that we kind of blew over, and it is that Darren Waller is back, headed to the Miami Dolphins. This did have to be done via trade because he technically was still on the Giants. So a 2026 6th rounder is headed to the Giants, a conditional one, for Waller, and a 2027 7th round pick.
I can't believe it was 2 picks.
Riveting stuff.
I assume the conditional is he has to play a certain amount.
I would guess. Because he literally wasn't on their team.
I'd be real hesitant if I was Miami to bring this guy in.
Yeah, but this is kind of like a no-cost acquire, right?
Yes, but I don't know. Darren Waller seems to just bring a lot of attention and drama.
He's got some baggage with him, for sure.
Yeah. Is this someone you're investing in a sleeper league?
Right, yeah.
No,
Logan, I just saw immediately hopped in our league and picked him up, of course.
Well, I mean, think about it. Tyreek Hill's kind of downward trend.
I guess the tight end position is just meh, but
Tyreek Hill,
Jonnu was good.
Downward trend. Yeah, Jonnu Smith was fine last year. I'm not a huge Jalen Waddle guy. I don't know. Not crazy.
It's something, you're right. But we'll see. They decided to pivot that way after trading off of Jonnu Smith. And the other news that has broke during the show today, the reigning NBA MVP, Finals MVP, scoring champ, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has agreed to a new 4-year, $285 million Supermax contract extension with the Thunder. Richest annual salary for a player in league history, just north of $70 million per year.
Get used to it. There's going to be a lot more haves and have-nots now. The discrepancy in the guys being paid and everyone else is going to be larger than it ever has been with this new collective bargaining agreement. Because the guys that are qualified, the guys that have won awards, first-team All-NBAs, the money that they're eligible to make and will prevent those teams from spending any real money in free agency, to where there's going to be so many teams with no cap space, which means all these role players are going to end up signing 1-year deals, or they'll sign a couple-year deals, and the annual average will be very low. This is good for the superstars, this new collective bargaining agreement. It's not very good for the role players. I'll say that.
Yeah, but the role players still make a pretty good chunk of change. I wouldn't be complaining.
They'll be fine.
We mentioned this in the last segment, and I wanted to bring it up in the news, but I had to spoil it because of the news that broke. Today is Bobby Bonilla Day. The New York Mets will be paying him $1.19 million today, all the way through 2035.
You know what I was thinking about earlier? If I was Bobby Bonilla, what would I be doing? If I just know, once a year, how
playing golf all the time?
How much of a luxury life could you live just knowing, once a year I'm just going to, what is it, 1.6? 1.7?
1.19.
1.1? Once a year I'm going to get $1 million. Could you just not work? I mean, you could, but how
could you just not
You
work?
definitely could. Could you get like a luxurious lifestyle?
Yeah,
You'd have to be
because you
somewhat smart
literally
with your money
aren't
still.
working and you're making money. And he also played in Major League Baseball, so probably has a pretty good amount stashed up. You definitely could.
Yeah.
I would play golf every single day. That would be the
Until
life.
your hands bleed.
Right, yes, of course. We did have Wimbledon start yesterday, the big-time tennis tournament. The number 3 player, American Jessica Pegula, lost in round 1 to the number 116th ranked player, Elisabetta Cocheredo.
I actually called this
go
one.
with that. You did, yeah. This was lock of the day?
Yeah,
Runner up for lock of the day?
Yeah, this was what I was debating lock of the day between yesterday.
The number 3
Just
player
kidding.
losing in round 1 in a 128 player first round is actually insane.
I could just Google this. Where is Wimbledon
What
played?
are you about to ask?
Where is Wimbledon played?
You know, I really don't know.
Okay.
Like, it's...
Next.
Isn't it in Wimbledon?
Yeah, but what's... I'll look it up. You read the next thing.
Okay. Probably England or something. Next up, we have some TJ Watt news, some updates on TJ Watt. After yesterday's big-time Steelers trade and the Dolphins that we kind of just mentioned once again, teams have been reaching out to the Steelers about potentially trading for TJ Watt. Obviously, this is not a new story. This has been something that has developed throughout the offseason, that he is unhappy with his contract talk with the Steelers, wants an extension, isn't getting one. Who knows if they're going to pay him now after taking on Jalen Ramsey's money and probably going to extend Jonnu Smith.
What do you think is the bare minimum that TJ Watt would have to go for? Is it 3 firsts? Is that steep? That's got to be steep.
That's too much.
2 firsts plus some more picks?
Anytime you have to pay a guy, though, too, it just changes the value
It's
of him.
TJ Watt. What are we talking about? It's like a future
I
Hall of Fame
understand,
guy
but,
in
like,
his prime.
You're not just getting TJ Watt. You're getting TJ Watt signed to the biggest contract in the NFL at his position. You know? Like, I'm not...
It's
2
also
firsts, I don't
still
think it's
TJ
outrageous.
Watt.
I would think it's a first and probably a second and another later pick. Maybe it's 2 firsts.
If you're the
I could be
Steelers,
wrong.
though, why do you, like, what is the debate internally if you're Pittsburgh? Pay the guy. What is the
Here's the
holdup?
debate.
He's your franchise
He's been
player.
the
He's
highest
the best
paid
player
on your team for the last so many years, and they haven't done anything.
That's
right?
not
I mean,
on
that's
him.
a debate.
That's not on him.
Who said it was? You're asking what's the debate? That could be their debate. It hasn't worked.
I think them not winning is more so because of their quarterbacks the past 6 years.
I would
even going back
very
to
much
like
agree.
Big Ben's last season was disastrous, and then what? It's just Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, and now Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields, Russell
Hey,
Wilson.
Aaron Rodgers is supposed to solve all their problems, apparently. So.
Aaron Rodgers causes a lot of problems, solves nothing.
Right, yes. And then last up on the news, Tigers, Nationals start a 3-game set in D.C. tonight. 6:45 first pitch. Jack Flaherty v. Trevor Williams.
Which version of Flaherty are we getting today? We getting the one that walks a bunch of guys, gives up a ton of home runs, or we getting the strikeout machine?
If we get the same Flaherty we got last week against Oakland, yes, I'm calling them that, I'd be fine with it.
Okay.
It wasn't that bad. 3 earned, went 6,
Just stop giving
went
up the home
5.
runs. He only gave up. It was one pitch where he gave up all three runs, one home
Right.
run, but he walked
And it
the
was
2 guys
after
before.
2 walks, yeah.
You just got to control the walks. And to your point, that comes down to the first pitch strikes. Right? That's where we've seen Skubal dominate. Flaherty, once upon a time, dominated that, but it feels like he's just lost a little bit of command in his fastball, and obviously the velocity has been trending down for a couple of seasons. And if you don't have command and you're walking guys with already a low velocity fastball, that's concerning, to say the least. 989-837-6125. We'll be patiently waiting the Tigers all day long. 6:45 first pitch, like Kyle said. All right, when we come back, 2 traditions to close out each and every show. It is the lock of the day. And, of course, predicting the one and only Colin Cowherd's opened. Stay secure, stay connected, and stay ahead with Link Technologies, your local IT experts in Midland. Small businesses, large operations, they do it all. They provide custom tech solutions that actually make your life easier. Specializing in networking, cybersecurity, cloud services, and managed IT support, all under one fast, reliable service. With people who speak your language. Whether you're upgrading, protecting, or troubleshooting, Linked Technologies keeps your systems running smooth. Visit linkedtechnologies.com to see how they can help your business work smarter, not harder. The two traditions to close out every show when we come back.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
It's time to remember that. With Kyle Sandell.
Presented by Matt Larson, Farm Bureau Agent, located downtown Midland. We got big news in the WNBA yesterday. 5 new teams are going to be added to the W by 2030. And one of them, yes, Detroit is getting a team back in 2029, as well as Philadelphia. Cleveland's getting one in 2028. And then Toronto and Portland are adding teams by 2030. This is super cool because we all remember in the mid-2000s when the Detroit Shock were around. They won a championship. Bill Laimbeer, the coach. Jaden Ivey, who's a current Detroit Piston, his mom played for the Detroit Shock. And this is just a really crucial thing for Tom Gores to get involved in. And we got to give him props once again. In the WNBA that is currently growing faster than any other sport in America and probably in the world, with all of these young players that have come in from women's college basketball and turned up this league, gaining popularity by a crazy amount. And now we're finally going to have a team likely playing in Little Caesars Arena. And who knows, you draft one of these big-time stars out of college. Next thing you know, there's sellout crowds at LCA when you see players like Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers come. Either way, this is a major W for the city of Detroit, for the game of basketball, and all parties involved. A big shout out to Tom Gores for getting out in front of this. And hopefully they go back to the Detroit Shock because that was always a super cool name. WNBA returning to Detroit in 2029. Remember that. Presented by Matt Larson, Farm Bureau Agent, located downtown Midland.
It is the Scholar Athlete of the Month, proudly presented by Fisher Companies here on Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt. This month's recipient is Logan Snyder from Bullet Creek High School. With a 3.94 GPA, Logan's a member of the varsity golf team, revitalizing a program that was dormant when he was a freshman 4 years ago. Logan great at golf and in the classroom, and also volunteers, including at the Midland Miracle Fields.
I love working with those kids, and it's always so much fun to see them getting to play the game we all get to love to play. Just getting to see them going up to bat, hitting the ball, no matter how far it goes, and they're just super excited. It just warms my heart every time.
Logan will be attending Ferris State in the fall and plans to study in their PGA Golf Management program. To hear the full interview and nominate a local athlete for our scholarship program, visit 1009themid.com.
Hey sports fans, heading up north? Whether you're gearing up for the big game, hosting friends, or winding down after a long day, Hops and Schnapps is your ultimate beverage destination. With one of the largest selections of beer, wine, and spirits in Michigan, featuring over 1,000 options from around the globe, we're your beverage experts. Plus, our friendly team is here to help you find the perfect pick. Visit us in Standish, Grayling, and Gaylord today. Hops and Schnapps, raise your glass, raise your spirits.
When the summer heat is on, keep your cool with Answer Heating and Cooling. Our expert team specializes in fast, reliable air conditioning repairs, installations, and maintenance. Stay comfortable all season long with top-notch cooling solutions and simply outstanding service. Plus, with financing options and special rebates, cooling your home has never been more affordable. Answer Heating and Cooling, where comfort is our priority. Try our new schedule online option or call us today.
Hey, did you guys catch anything yet?
Not a thing.
Ah, bummer, neither have we. I'm actually just about to head into town. I'm gonna go into Higher Standards Automotive. They got this award-winning service department with amazing technicians and this large parts department in case I want to fix it myself. They got the part there.
Whatever.
No, I'm serious, man. It's out there.
Yeah, just like when you tried to convince me Bigfoot was real.
Ray?
Bigfoot's behind me, isn't he?
Yeah, we gotta run. Get out. Stop into Higher Standards Automotive, North Eastman Road in Midland, right past the mall.
Mountain View Restaurant at Apple Mountain, where casual elegance meets breathtaking views. Our new expanded menu features a wide variety of dishes to satisfy every palate, from fresh seasonal options to your all-time favorites. Whether you're hosting a client lunch, enjoying happy hour, or planning a date night, we have the perfect setting for every occasion. Don't miss our weekly features and refreshing beverages. In the summer, dine al fresco on our beautiful patio and soak in the scenery. Mountain View, where great food meets spectacular views.
We gather together in communities across the nation to remember and honor, to celebrate and support, to light the night. We are LLS, and when we walk, cancer runs. Find your local event at lightthenight.org.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
All right, we end every show the same. 2 traditions right here on the Ben Bosscher Show. The first of those being the lock of the day.
Lock of the day.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Ah, man. I'm debating just not talking about yesterday's lock
I
of the
will
day.
talk about it.
Okay, thanks.
Just to let the people know, man. It's just to keep everyone updated with what's going on.
Let me just jump in real first.
Yeah, go for it.
We were on a little losing streak, so we relied on the GOATs, right? When in doubt, bet on the GOATs. Ohtani to hit a bomb. That got us back in the win column. And then we bet on the Indiana Fever. And even though Caitlin Clark didn't play, they're able to defend off the Dallas Wings and win by over 2.5, cover the spread. We're back in the win column. So we went from going and betting on GOATs, and we were like, oh, look at this good value. Chase Burns going to get good amount of strikeouts. And we bet on a rookie instead of a GOAT. That was mistake number 1. I'll let you jump in now because I can't even talk about it. It makes me sick. I'm turning my back to the camera.
Too, apparently. Like, it was just a really rough start. The worst part is I tailed that yesterday, so it didn't hit. But yes, Chase Burns over 6.5 Ks, way under, got 1 out before being pulled.
Gave up 5 runs.
Sox. Gave up 5 runs. One dude on the Red Sox, Wilyer Abreu, hit a grand slam and an inside the park home run. Not both off of Burns, but
I knew that there was some like home run potential. Playing in Fenway yesterday against a veteran
team. You didn't
team.
seem very confident in your pick. I'll say that.
Dude, this is the toughest stretch
and honestly,
for lock of the day.
Honestly, Ben, you need to be called out for that. You're doing people a disservice, man. This is the lock of the day. You need to be locked into your pick. You can't just be like, this might hit.
You're
you
right.
Know what I'm saying?
You're right. I'm trying to help out the people. But yesterday was a prime example of like, all right, find a baseball prop. Because I don't like doing money lines or run lines in baseball. It's just too random. Like you have to examine the pitching matchup a little bit more. And
I like a first 5. First 5 run line I do like a lot because that's based more on the starters.
Okay, that's fair too. Once we get into football season, we have Mondays and Thursdays for football and some Friday games as well. I think we're going to be doing them a lot better. But,
agreed.
And even when basketball's back, I mean, we're like sprinkling in some fever stuff right now, but it's just, this is going to be the toughest stretch for lock of the day. If we can get through this positive and get into football season positive, I feel good about getting to the end of the calendar year positive.
Right.
What are we at right now?
Yeah, an update for the people. You are 2.76 units down all time, which is also the final tally for the month of June. So we're going to keep track of months as well, just like we keep track of weeks. So June, down 2.76 units. Looking to have a more successful July. Obviously, you're just down 1 unit this week, 8-14 on the all-time record.
Okay. Today, going to the Tigers game. We haven't done this one yet. I think the value's good. Because usually it's like minus 130, minus 140. Today, no runs in the first inning. It's minus 104. No runs in the first inning. Jack Flaherty's bound to put someone on base. It's just a matter of getting out of it. And that's what we saw a ton of in his start last week. Got guys on base, worked his way out of it. Just scare us a little bit, Flaherty. Tease us a little bit. Make us think we're going to lose this bet. And then come through. That's all we're asking from Jack Flaherty today. And obviously the Tigers to not come out of the gate scorching hot. Never rooting against the Tigers to score runs, but for 3 outs, if they don't score runs, it would not be the worst thing ever today. So I will be going with no runs here in the first inning to get us back in the win column. Fade or tail?
I'm 0-3, by the way, on the Taylor fade picks.
You're calling me out for not being locked in.
I'm doing just as bad, yes. I'm doing just as bad. I'm fading this today. two really bad pitchers.
Calling Jack Flaherty really bad?
As of late, okay, you're right. He's not really bad. I'm fading.
He
today.
hasn't been great.
I also don't want to root against the Tigers in the first inning.
All right,
coming
so
off a day off.
You're 0-3. I feel good if you're going to fade this. That means this one's going to hit.
That's fair.
You're going to be 0-4. I'm going to go back to 2-1 on the week. We'll be positive on the week. Keep
Minus
building off of
104 for the Tigers. Nerfy, by the way.
That's good value. Like in general, that's just good value for a Nerfy.
For a Nerfy, yes, absolutely.
Usually it's
usually
a lot
never
worse
around
than that.
even.
Usually Nerfy is just something I got to throw into a parlay, but that's good enough to just straight up bet on its own. All right, that is our lock of the day.
Lock of the day.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
All right, our other tradition to end every show, well, the one and only Colin Cowherd takes over our airwaves at noon. We like to predict what he is opening up with. So go ahead and throw the scoreboard up, Kyle. What is the all-time scoreboard? Did anyone score yesterday? Did either of us get his open?
I did score yesterday. Finally. I'd been on a little bit of a cold streak. At least you had been on a hot streak. You took a 7-4 lead after the end of last week. But I nailed yesterday. Steelers. Man, he loves going at the Steelers. He really is out on Pittsburgh. He even passed up the LeBron James news, which I thought was a really good first pick from you yesterday. He passed that way up to go at the Steelers about the trade they made yesterday. So it's 7-5.
Me and him are both
You're
out
up.
on the Steelers.
I have the first pick, and I think there's a pretty obvious one today.
Yeah.
Right? Damn it. After what's broken today, there could be a couple things about yesterday's NBA news, but yeah, it's this Damian Lillard Milwaukee Bucks stuff. It's primarily centered around Dame.
Which means in the last hour, he pivoted from whatever his open was going to be.
Which he did the same thing yesterday, too.
Yeah, because he opened up with the Steelers, which that news broke in the 11 o'clock hour, right? That's why he's a pro, you know? He adjusts on the fly. He might not start planning his show until 15 minutes before. Like a pro. So you're going with what? The Bucks are idiots?
Yes, the Bucks are what are the Bucks doing? Like, this is crazy. Why are you cutting Dame? Maybe Giannis should ask out. It's going to be the Bucks are stupid thing. I mean, they're making up 45% of their salary. I know I'm throwing stats out here. 45% of their salary is Miles Turner, Kyle Kuzma, and Damian Lillard next year. That doesn't include Giannis. Half of their salary. One of the guys isn't even playing. The other one sucks. And the other one's Miles Turner. Crazy, man.
Not a good situation.
So what are you going with? Wimbledon talk?
No. You took the good one off the board. Man, it's not like he's going with anything NFL today, I don't think. I mean, the Steelers thing.
I'll throw a bone at you. Is the Darren Waller news lead worthy?
No. Guy coming back out of retirement. Maybe on a slow day, but today is certainly not a slow day, you know?
You could take the Pacers approach of this, right? Like, OMG, the Pacers are letting Turner go after making the finals. They're really letting this second apron stuff get to them.
So if you're taking the Bucks are stupid trade,
yes,
like
you could take the
it,
Pacers side of this. Yeah,
no, that
or the Turner.
Can I take a different team trading for Giannis, or is that too much? Too similar?
No, I think you could take that if that's how he like centers the conversation around it.
So
like trade Giannis.
So if my topic is and I'm not trying to steal your pick here, because if you want to do trade Giannis, if that's where you think it lands, then you're going first today. But if you're just going Bucks disaster,
dumb. Yeah,
I'm gonna go with they have to trade Giannis. Then we could both score points today. That might be the first time we could both score a point.
That's fair. I'll allow that. Especially on a day like today where it seems like it's very obvious that he's leading with this.
Yeah, I would be floored if he didn't lead with Damian Lillard getting cut, because it's a household name. It has to do with Giannis. You can start throwing in trades. And
yeah, it's
just
a
makes
crazy
way too
day
much sense
for NBA fans, for sure.
All right, so I'm going with him getting traded, and you're going with just the Bucks in general being a disaster. Both eligible for a point in the same open, which I don't know if we should be in a habit of doing
stuff.
that. That probably shouldn't become a habit, but today's kind of a unique circumstance.
You know, so we can blame you.
Thanks so much. All right, we will be back tomorrow and Thursday. And then Friday, guess who's coming to town? Max Clark, Kevin McGonigal, Josue DePaul is also in town. Zaire Hope's also in town. Jose Briseño also in town. That would be 5 top 100 prospects at Dow Diamond this weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you've got a chance to see baseball's next bright young stars right here for a low, low price. So we hope to see you guys out at Dow Diamond this weekend, celebrate 4th of July, let off some fireworks thanks to Farm Bureau. It's going to be an incredible time. I'm not predicting. I am telling you, it is going to be a fun time here.
Bluey.
And it's Bluey weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Get to see Bluey if you bring your kids. Maybe get a picture with Bluey. It'll be a good time here at the ballpark. The part I'm the most excited about is the top-end talent. I don't know if there's really ever across minor league baseball a stretch where you can see 5 top 100 prospects all share the field together.
All of them playing in the Futures All-Star game, too.
Yeah, every single one of them in the Futures All-Star game as well. Crazy that the Tigers are sending 3 guys all from the same team. That West Michigan team is loaded. But so is this Loons team in terms of top-end talent. What'd you tell me Hope was right now? They're both top 50 guys.
38. They're both top 40.
Yeah, both top 40 guys.
It's the top 2 guys in each org, plus Briseño, are playing in this game. It's going to be awesome.
And it's 4th of July. Sounds like a perfect time to come to the ballpark and come hang out and come say hi if you see us. All right, we will check back in tomorrow. I pray to God that when we're talking at 9 a.m., Malik Monk, not Malik Beasley, Malik Monk is a Detroit Piston, and we can celebrate. And if he's not, well, we just get a little bit more angry. We'll be back tomorrow. Ben Bosscher Show, 100.9 The Mitt.